Welcome to Fanfiction Audiobooks. Marvel, collecting Shinra Tensei at the beginning. Chapter 161 The Crisp Forging Sound. Then let you come to this stage, pay attention, the level of detail must reach the level written on the drawing, otherwise the effect will be greatly reduced. Ai Kui reminded. After all, he is a forging master, and his words can still be trusted. After Hanyu and Ai Kui checked the points that need to be paid attention to, he started his forging. Seeing Hanyu standing with his legs straddled, he took a half-horse, let out a long breath, his eyes instantly became sharp, and the right arm holding the Haoshan hammer suddenly exerted force and swung downward. Drink! As soon as the hammer fell, there was a crisp sound when the hammer and the metal met. With the force of the rebound, Hanyu raised his arm and exerted force again at the moment of falling. There was another crisp sound, which meant that the hammer surface was completely in contact with the metal, and the sound was only made when the hammer was hammered perfectly. Otherwise, due to the characteristics of these metals, if the hammering force is not strong enough, they will not make such a sound, and will only become dull. This is where Ai Kui struggles. He has this kind of power, but he doesn't have a hammer that can withstand this kind of force. Once he exerts force, the hammer shatters. This is the real good hammer. I definitely want to fight with Hanyu. Looking at this scene, Ai Kui admired in his heart. The more he looked at the clear sky hammer, the more satisfied he was, and he was thinking about what conditions he would use to exchange it. If it is purely made of Uru metal, it may be possible to create a hammer as strong as the clear sky hammer, but this is the metal exclusively used by the royal family of Asgard. It is not appropriate for Ai Kui to use it to forge a forging hammer. Han, pay attention to the preparation and you will reach the point that needs attention. There are 7 more. Ai Kui kept a close eye on the changes in the metal, reminding Hanyu of the changes in the metal all the time. Hanyu also frowned slightly. He could feel that he was exerting more and more force, otherwise he would not be able to make a sound at all. If the force was slightly weakened, the sound of the hammer hitting the metal would be a little weaker. As expected, it's a strange metal mixed with Ulu metal. It's still a bit difficult to do it by hand alone. Hanyu thought. If it is an ordinary weapon forging, it can be flexibly connected to the furnace in the center of the star for roughly manufacturing, and there is no need to do it by hand. But what they are making now is the god-fighting clothes, which are mostly composed of armor pieces of different sizes. If they are handmade, they can control the exact thickness of the armor pieces. You need to use other methods to continue forging. Hanyu said to the grocery store system in his mind, call out a one-time exercise, the random cloaking wind hammer method. In the next second, a huge amount of information flooded into Hanyu's mind, and soon, his hand holding the clear sky hammer felt much stronger, and the strength of each swing of the hammer became more precise. Good guy, this technique is really powerful. Hanyu exclaimed. This chaotic cloaking wind hammer method is the casting technique of the Haoshan school of the Haoshan hammer sect. The effect is to use force to strike, to use all the strength of the forger, to remove impurities more accurately, and to forge metal. The strength of Hanyu's hammer is constantly increasing, the interval between hammering is getting shorter and shorter, and the force he uses is also visible to the naked eye, but every time he hammers down, there is a clear sound, and the sound is getting stronger and stronger. It's getting crisper and crisper, which means that his strength is gradually strengthening. This unique forging method is different from modern craftsmen. Even Ai Kui honestly hammers one hammer after another. It is impossible to use every hammer like Hanyu. The continuous crisp sound caused the dwarf craftsmen next to him to put down their work and walk over to Hanyu to have a look. Everyone was amazed by his technique, they had never seen such a quick and delicate operation. Even Loki and the others came over to watch. The so-called layman watches the excitement, while the insider watches the way. Although they couldn't see anything, seeing the surprised expressions on the faces of the dwarves like Ai Kui, it was enough to see that Hanyu's technique was unusual. Brother, your friend can do it, and you can actually make Ai Kui show such an expression. Hela said that she knew Ai Kui thousands of years ago. Although Ai Kui was young at that time, he was already one of the top craftsmen among the dwarves. When she met Ai Kui at that time, the latter was already an arrogant person, but his craftsmanship did support such arrogance. Now that he became the king of dwarves, it can explain the problem. Hearing Hela's familiar words, Loki didn't say anything. She was so powerful that she could call her whatever she wanted. He watched Hanyu's skillful tapping technique with hammer after hammer, and said, I didn't expect him to be so powerful. A little bit of sweat slid down Hanyu's chiseled face, and that serious expression made Ganada see stars in his eyes. At this time, Hanyu was working faster and faster, and within a second, he tapped more than 10 or 20 times in a row, and his arm turned into an afterimage. This thing is a bit interesting. It's getting thinner and thinner, but the force I need to use hasn't decreased at all. Instead, I have to use more force. Hanyu's eyes shone slightly, and when he encountered a challenge, the corners of his mouth curled up instead. Lost to a piece of metal? How is it possible? Hanyu has the ambition to stand on the top of the universe. This is just a small episode in life, it is impossible to stump him. Come on, Clear Sky Hammer, let's have a good fight this time. The first soul skill, Lightning 5-strike combo. When Hanyu said this in his heart, a black ring suddenly appeared on the head of the Clear Sky Hammer, floating up and down around the hammer. The next moment, Hanyu's speed suddenly increased, and the speed of the combo hit was unexpectedly upgraded to another level. 5 lightning strikes in a row. 5 strikes in a row. 5 strikes in a row. Hanyu kept using the first soul skill of the Clear Sky Hammer, because he only had one soul ring, so he only had one soul skill. And the soul power in the Haoshan Hammer has the soul power background of a 99 level Peerless Doluo. Holding a nearly full level blue bar to hit a 10th level skill, that's not like fetching water with a ladle in the sea, just casually. In the Marvel world, there is no such thing as soul skills, seeing Hanyu's hand speed beating like that. All the dwarves, including Ai Kui, were dumbfounded. It had already formed a continuous sound, and there was no pause between them. The metal block, which was about the width of a forearm and high from the middle finger of the palm to the root of the thumb, gradually became thinner and larger in size under Hanyu's knocking. In less than 10 minutes, a piece of paper as thin as a cicada's wing appeared in front of everyone. Hanyu wiped his sweat, looked at the drawings, and asked Ai Kui, "How is this level?" "Absolutely, it's amazing." Ai Kui gave a thumbs up and praised repeatedly, "This part can be said to be a top-quality product. If I were to do it, it would probably be a little thicker than yours. What's your technique?" "Learned, it's amazing." Chapter 162 God King Warner. The other dwarves also echoed. Although they couldn't see much of Hanyu's knocking during this short period of time, the little knowledge they saw was enough to improve their skills a lot. "Okay, stop boasting, the business is important, let's continue." Hanyu didn't indulge in everyone's boasting, but said like this, "Now is not the time to be complacent. Oh right, everyone, go to work and speed up the progress in your hands." Ai Kui urged. The dwarves trotted all the way back to their original positions and started forging. Hanyu found a place to sit down, and as soon as he stopped, the method of using the wind hammer technique in the cloak disappeared from his mind. "Now I still have a little touch left. If I learn it from memory, maybe I can really learn this chaotic wind hammer technique." Hanyu rubbed his fingers against his palm and murmured. Hela and Ganada came over and sat on both sides of Hanyu. Hela said, "Yes, you. What do you do? Are you also a craftsman?" "No, I run a small shop, a grocery store. These are the things in my shop, and there are many good things. If you are interested in the future, you can come and find out." Hanyu smiled, and he didn't forget to advertise his shop while speaking. Speaking of which, it had been a long time since anyone came to buy things in his shop. When GDA was not made before, he would think about how to make money, but now that he is not short of money, he can focus on improving his own strength. Hela nodded and said, "In the future, I will definitely visit you." Ganada's voice followed closely behind, "Your technique is not weaker than Ai Kui's. If you focus on this move, bring a few more people together and sooner or later you will surpass Ai Kui's dwarf star." She was right, if there were more blacksmiths who possessed the Clear Sky Hammer and were proficient in the wind hammer technique, it would definitely be a very good team of forging craftsmen. Hanyu's ambition is not here, he is someone who wants to roam the Marvel universe freely, and spends his life guarding a pile of metal. He doesn't like that kind of life. "I am used to being free. If I do the same thing every day, I will be bored to death. I still open my small shop and go around the universe every day. This way I am free." Hanyu laughed. The two women nodded when they heard this. Who doesn't like this kind of free lifestyle? Looking at the dwarves, Hanyu had just forged the most difficult part of the whole suit, and now all the parts have been made, waiting to be assembled. Ai Kui looked at Hanyu, who nodded to him, and Ai Kui said to the dwarves, "Start assembling." A piece of divine combat clothing gradually formed in Hanyu's eyes. Outside Asgard, countless spaceships are moored in the void of the universe. On the largest spaceship in the middle, there is a place with beautiful mountains and rivers. I don't know if I really think it is a fairyland on Earth. At this time, a man was sitting in a huge pool, leaning his head on the side stone, surrounded by 3 beautiful women who looked like heaven. A pretty woman knelt behind him, letting the man's head rest on her lap. On her left, another enchanting woman hugged him, holding a handful of water for him to wipe his body from time to time, and finally a beautiful woman brought peeled melons and fruits to his mouth from time to time. Coupled with the small waterfall flowing on the upper pool and the misty mist around it, this scene is simply a fairyland on Earth. Not far behind him stood 2 hideous men, they were the Flame Giant and the Frost Giant. "Sea God, our people sent back news that those dwarves are unwilling to forge equipment and weapons for us. Do we need to teach them some lessons?" said the Frost Giant. He is also the king of a country anyway, but the tone of his words at this time is a bit cautious. After Odin died, on the surface, only the man in front of him is the strongest. The degree of stepping into the level of the father-level god is enough for them bow down. Frost Giants and Flame Giants, if they don't have their artifacts, the Frost Box and the Eternal Fire to strengthen them, at best they can only cause trouble on the earth and want to invade Asgard. It's just nonsense, it's hard to say, they are primitive people with superior bodies, and their planetary country is no different from the Stone Age on Earth. The only difference may be that their thinking is ahead of people in the Stone Age, and their physical functions are much stronger. That's right, these dwarves don't even give you face. Now that Odin is dead, they dare to be so arrogant. They really want to die. The Flame Giant also echoed. Very humble, but also very realistic, they are weaker than Sea God. If they want to become stronger, they can only attach themselves to a powerful race, otherwise Sea God would easily destroy them. Well. The man in the pool waved his hand, and the 2 beauties beside him backed away a little. The woman behind him took a towel wisely and surrounded the man when he stood up. The man's hair is dark blue like the sea, and grows to his waist. His eyes are so deep that it makes people fascinated. His appearance is like walking out of a picture scroll, which is surprisingly good looking. This is another Protoss, the god king of the Vanir Protoss, Sea God. The top priority now is to defuse Asgard's defenses. Let's ignore the dwarves. Having their weapons is icing on the cake. It doesn't matter if we don't have them. With our current strength, defeating Asgard is not a problem at all. Sea God lay down on a deck chair by the pool, and said leisurely, "Is there anything else?" When he was talking, he didn't glance at the Flame Giant and the Frost Giant, which was a contemptuous attitude. The Flame Giant clenched his fists tightly, but quickly loosened them again. He sighed secretly, "There is no way, this is the situation of the weak, the most important thing is to attack Asgard now, as long as he regains the eternal flame. His own as long as the strength is enough, you can enter the Yaetian parent class. Although it is still not as good as Sea God, it can still give him a little right to speak, instead of obedient obedience. Be patient." The Flame Giant comforted himself in his heart, and then said, "Recently, Thor and the Guardian of the Rainbow Bridge, Heimdall, forcibly broke through the Rainbow Bridge once, and the person who sent him away seems to be Thor. Thor's brother, Loki, we don't know where to send it, what should we do?" Loki. Hearing this name, Sea God searched for information about this person in his mind, and then said, "Ah, it's this guy. I used to hug him when he was young. This kid has a lot of tricks, but the combat power is not high, so send it out and send it out, there is nothing to be afraid of." Chapter 163 Purple Sweet Potato Head. Hearing what Sea God said, the Flame Giant hesitated. He wanted to be more cautious, but he didn't dare to say it. With Sea God's strength, he can beat himself and the Flame Giant alone. His status is too low, and it won't help if he speaks out. Instead, he may be humiliating himself. Thousands of words came to my mouth, and finally turned into one word, yes. After finishing speaking, the 2 Flame Giants withdrew, leaving only Sea God and a few maids here. After a while, a communication device beside Sea God rang. He picked it up, his expression suddenly changed, and he immediately started the conversation. A floating display screen popped up in front of him. On the screen was a purple sweet potato head. "Njord, how are things going?" Purple Sweet Potato Head said. "It's going well, you don't have to worry about it." Hearing the other party call his name directly, Sea God looked a little unhappy, but he didn't say anything, and now he still needs his help, so just follow him. I heard that Asgard used the Rainbow Bridge to send Loki away. Don't you want to investigate this further? Purple Sweet Potato Head said. The Sea God frowned, and he didn't need to think about it to know that it was the Flame Giant or the Frost Giant who said it. Otherwise, the Purple Sweet Potato Head was behind the scenes, how could he know about it? Hey, there's nothing to look into. It's just a magician. I'm not afraid of him in Asgard. Now that he's gone, I don't need to be afraid. I can beat such a person with a car. Pass. Poseidon said, the words seemed to express how capable he was, not much weaker than the Purple Sweet Potato Head on the screen. Purple Sweet Potato Head didn't seem to hear his voice, but nodded his head on his own, and then said, you have to be more careful, after all, you are capturing Asgard, it is always better to be cautious. Sea God was a little impatient, and couldn't show it on his face, so he could only respond with a smile. After he hung up the contact, his face turned dark, and the communication device in his hand was directly crushed by him. Sea God's somewhat sinister words also echoed in this small world. Humph, the little interstellar invaders dare to order me. When I occupy Asgard and merge the two domains, I will be rude to you, Thanos. Somewhere in the universe, on an asteroid wandering aimlessly in the universe, there is a golden throne, and on the throne is a bald man with purple skin. He is the Purple Sweet Potato Head who just talked to Sea God. Master Thanos, do we need to intervene? The Poseidon guy doesn't seem to care about this matter. In front of the Purple Sweet Potato Head, a man in black robe said hoarsely. The Purple Sweet Potato Head leaned against the throne, squinted his eyes slightly, and said, no need, let him solve it by himself, let him fight it out, if you make a rash move, it will not be good for me. As soon as the words fell, a painful look appeared on the Purple Sweet Potato Head's face, and he covered his left chest with his palm, feeling a little painful. Master Thanos. The black-robed man was about to step forward to check, but the Purple Sweet Potato Head raised his palm to him, signaling him not to come over. Purple Sweet Potato Head took a few breaths before saying, I'm fine, I don't care about the sea god, let him take care of it himself, that's it, you go down. Seeing his still painful expression, the man in black robe hesitated for a while, then bowed to him, and then backed away. After the black-robed man stepped back and left for a while, the expression on Purple Sweet Potato Head's face gradually returned to normal. He still put his hand on his left chest and said to himself, this incomplete heart of the universe is troublesome. The sea god guy really has to speed up the progress. Now I can count on him. Star of the dwarves, Nidai. Hey, okay, I'm done, I'm done. Ai Kui's ecstatic voice sounded. Hearing this, Hanyu subconsciously wanted to open his mouth and say, bastard, what have you become? But he quickly swallowed the words again, considering that these aliens don't understand this talk of the Earth's Huaxia, and they would not respect people if they said it, so he didn't say anything, and walked quickly to Ai Kui. The god-fighting clothes are ready. It is done. Ai Kui picked up the Celestial Star god-fighting clothes, which is a thin armor-style battle suit, which looks very light. Try. Hanyu looked at Hela, who was not polite, stepped forward to take the suit, and found a place to put it on. This was originally a battle suit made for her. If it was polite, it would look a little disgusting. But after a while, the first thing that appeared in front of everyone was a pair of long legs, and then Hela walked out from behind the bunker. All the men present except Hanyu looked straight at him, including Luoji. Wearing this battle suit, Hela's curvy figure is highlighted vividly. The dark green armor is made of thin armor, which is distributed on the legs, arms, and torso, so it won't look bloated. It looks it's an agile armor. Regardless of its lightness and thinness, it is needed with URU metal, coupled with the supernatural defensive power of the god-fighting clothes itself, making it even more defensive. Wearing this is not a simple defense against swords and stabs. Many magical attacks strike, and the battle suit has its own spirituality, which will absorb or bounce attacks to protect the owner. It can be said that both appearance and practicality are correct. Well, it's not bad, I'm very satisfied. Hela turned around, her pretty face was full of satisfaction, she winked at Hanyu, and said with a light smile, thank you. Hanyu smiled and nodded indifferently. He turned his head and was about to call Loki to leave, but saw that the latter was also looking at Hela blankly, so he poked him helplessly and said, hey, dude, wake up, that's your sister. Loki also noticed that he had lost his composure. Coughed lightly, and said in a low voice, "It's not my sister, let's see what's wrong." Hanyu rolled his eyes and said, "You're going to enter the German orthopedics department." Loki didn't know what he was talking about, so he responded casually and then turned his head away, but his eyes would always turn to Hela from time to time. Even Loki, who has never been close to women and looks like Ki, showed this look, and those dwarves who have been busy for hundreds of years can't take their eyes away. Hanyu curled his lips and looked them up and down. Although these guys were said to be dwarves, their average height was 4 meters, but the proportion of their bodies made them look like dwarves. "Don't think about it, this body is asymmetrical, it will kill you if you are together," Hanyu complained in his heart. "By the way, Ai Kui, help me get another weapon." "What? Storm axe? Storm axe? What do you want that for?" Ai Kui was stunned. The storm axe that Hanyu mentioned was not an ordinary weapon. Among all the artifacts, its status could even go a lot further. "What are you talking about? I can't understand more and more, what is the storm axe?" Loki asked. Chapter 164 Storm Battle Axe. The storm axe is a transcendent weapon that can be connected to the Rainbow Bridge at will, and can maximize the ability of the holder. Ai Kui explained. "Damn, it's so strong, so what are you waiting for, give us a hand," Loki said. Ai Kui said seriously, "No. Weapons of this level can only be used exclusively by Asgardian god kings. If such weapons are spread widely, they will cause great damage to the entire universe." Rocky was taken aback by his serious look, and closed his mouth resentfully. Hanyu stroked his chin and nodded in agreement. He knew the power of this battle axe. It was an axe that could withstand the impact of the energy of the Infinity Gem. Under the energy into nothingness. And it also has the ultimate attack power, like the invulnerable skin of Thanos, which can be easily cut by this axe. And people like Thanos are rare in the world. He alone can annihilate half of the universe. If a group of super aliens with the same physique as Thanos appear, they can really be called the Universe Center. It's a pity that Hanyu knew that in the movie universe in his memory, Thanos slaughtered his entire planet, but in this world, Hanyu didn't think he would be good. Before he realized that he had changed the timeline, Thanos still gave Loki the Mind Stone scepter to let him invade the Earth. Now that the timeline has changed, Hanyu feels that Thanos will change too, but it must be cruel direction changes. "Why do you want this weapon? I need a reasonable explanation, otherwise I can't make it for you." Ai Kui said very seriously, "This is his professional ethics, he can create this storm battle axe, but he also has the responsibility to guard this storm battle axe and decide who it should be given to." Hanyu didn't feel unhappy, it was someone else's responsibility, if he forced him to build it, it would be no different from Thanos. After this battle, Asgard will definitely elect a new god king. This time I want to let other worlds really see how powerful Asgard is. I don't want to do things that will affect other worlds. It happened. Hanyu said. Not everyone can use benevolence to treat other worlds like Odin. If other people are in charge, maybe they will have the same idea as Hela before. To conquer them with hard power and become the leader of the 9 realms. King, not king of Asgard. Hearing Hanyu talking about herself, Hela rolled her eyes and didn't say anything, she just turned her head to avoid looking at him. Rocky and the others nodded silently. Although it was not an honorable thing for him to invade the Earth, if the Earth had not launched a nuclear bomb at that time, perhaps he would have captured New York. However, if a nuclear bomb is launched, if it is dropped on the surface, it will cause great harm to human beings themselves, which can be regarded as a consequence of mutual damage. The Earth is a medium-level world among several realms. If an alien invasion occurs, the Earth will definitely become a victim. Although the technology is not backward, the physical fitness of the residents is generally low. Those who can fight are the superhero organizations of the Avengers, and in several worlds, the Frost Giants, although they are not high in technology, their physical fitness is far superior to that of Earth people. A Frost Giant with a normal physique can fight dozens of Earthlings. This is undoubtedly a disaster for the Earth. Therefore, Hanyu needs an upright monarch to truly unify and manage the 9 realms by force. Odin didn't do it because if he did, Asgard would suffer a lot. But now, with Hanyu's help, Asgard must be able to do it. Ai Kui pondered. He agreed with Hanyu's words. If the latter didn't help in the catastrophe of Asgard this time, Asgard would really fall. He wants to change these things, but he has more than enough energy, he is just a craftsman. Han Yu didn't speak, let Ai Kui think about it first. After a while, Ai Kui sighed and said, "That's all, I'll forge it for you. Take out the things in your shop and compare them one by one. I don't believe that there is nothing more powerful than my storm axe. I don't want to disturb the balance of this universe." Han Yu was silent. Ai Kui's words are not surprising to Loki, who has seen him shoot. He has also seen the kind of magical fairy beans that can recover immediately after eating no matter what kind of injury. Even Asgard's he couldn't do it with technology, so he was already surprised. On the contrary, Ganada and Hela looked over with interest. Although the two of them heard Han Yu say that he opened a grocery store. Originally, they thought that Han Yu's grocery store was at best not a black market in the planet, but now hearing Ai Kui's words, it seems that his store is not unusual. The things sold in it are even Ai Kui. Do you all feel great? This is Nai Dai. They are a dwarf family, the most powerful forging race in the universe. Even the king of this family praises Han Yu, and Ganada and Hela are becoming more and more interested in Han Yu. This guy can negotiate terms with Mephisto, and he also knows the king of the dwarves. He has something. I have to find a chance to visit his store. I would like to know what good things he has in his store. Hela thought to herself. Road. But Ganada's thinking was much simpler, the things in his store are better than those made by these dwarves? Then there must be better things, I must go and see. Naturally, Han Yu didn't know the plan of the two of them, so he said to Ai Kui, "Since this is the case, there is no need to delay, let's start building." Ai Kui nodded, and led the group of them to the center of the dwarf star. There is a huge furnace. The light from the center of the distant star directly hits the energy-gathering ring on it, and then the huge heat is transferred to the furnaces of other dwarves for their use. Ai Kui went up and pulled something on it, and then lowered a large square thick iron plate. "What is this? Is it a storm battle board?" Loki said. Ai Kui rolled his eyes and said, "Idiot, this is a mold." Loki scratched his head and smiled awkwardly, "Ah, that's it, haha. The storm tomahawk is different from other weapons. The forging temperature it requires is the highest among all weapons. It must be melted directly at the temperature of stars." As he said that, Ai Kui put several pieces of ulu metal into the furnace. Several people looked into the furnace and saw that the ulu metal that had been hammered thousands of times by Han Yu and remained motionless under other flames began to melt. Ai Kui looked at the heat, and about 10 seconds later, he poured the metal solution in the furnace, and poured the solution into the mold mentioned earlier. Chapter 165 The Lost Eyes. After the metal solution was poured into the mold, Ai Kui opened the mold, and the axe head and tail of the battle axe appeared. "By the way, we need to find a suitable axe handle." Ai Kui murmured, then turned around to look for a suitable axe handle tool. Han Yu looked at the two axe tails, pondered for a moment, and stretched out his hand towards them. The energy of the green light flew towards the axe handle, combining the two parts, and then turned into a long handle of more than 1 meter. After the axe was merged, it miraculously floated into the air by itself, and flew into Han Yu's hand as if intelligently. This scene happened to be seen by Ai Kui, who was holding a few metal handles. Han Yu said with some embarrassment, "It's none of my business. I just want to get an axe handle. It can move by itself." Ai Kui stepped forward, looked at the handle of the axe, threw away the things in his hand, and said with satisfaction, "Yes, the handle of your axe transformed from this energy is better, and it can withstand more energy." Han Yu said, "Then it flew into my hand by itself, what's the matter, can others still use it?" Ai Kui said, "Of course others can use it. It will fly into your hands because it has chosen the most suitable person here after it is formed. However, it is not enchanted like Odin. It will not be like Odin. There are only a few who can handle Thor's hammer." Hearing this, Han Yu suddenly nodded, but Ai Kui's words made one person feel uncomfortable. "Oh, this axe, I'm the strongest person here, it didn't fly into my hand." Ganada rushed over, grabbed the axe in Han Yu's hand, and yelled angrily at the axe. "The storm axe can't speak, no matter what she says, it still doesn't move." Han Yu took out a few nuclear energy balls that had been prepared for feeding and handed them to Ganada, took the axe by hand, and said, "You are right, it is the axe's fault, let's leave it alone, come on, eat something to cool off." Seeing something delicious, Ganada's eyes lit up, she didn't care about the tomahawk, took those few nuclear energy balls, and ate them on her own. This scene made the rest of the people roll their eyes, just pet her. Weighing the storm axe, since it flew into his hands, it means that he also has the right to use it. Han Yu then said, "Okay, everything is ready, let's go back to Asgard." "Okay." Loki clenched his fists tightly. He had been waiting for this moment all the time, and it finally arrived. Hela nodded silently, "Is it finally time to go back?" Gonita gnawed on the nuclear energy ball, blinking her eyes. Seeing this, Han Yu smiled slightly, raised the storm axe in his hand, and a rainbow of light descended from the sky, enveloping everyone in it. After the light disappeared, the figures of Han Yu and the others also disappeared in front of Ai Kui. Ai Kui looked at the sky and murmured, "We must help Asgard survive this disaster, Han Yu." Asgard, the main hall. The main hall, which was originally empty, is now full of people. Women and children are crowded in this hall, everyone has a faint look of fatigue on their faces, and the sound of explosions outside from time to time can always arouse a small wave of people. He screamed in panic, but was quickly calmed down by the people around him. On the throne, sitting is not Odin, but Thor. Sol, now the group of Vanir Protoss has attacked the outer houses. The shield of this hall should be able to resist for 10 days if there is no accident. Heimdall, the guardian of the Rainbow Bridge, stood beside Thor and told him about the recent battle situation. At this time, Thor's eyes no longer had the original innocence in his eyes, and instead he was solemn and fierce, as if just looking at someone could make someone suffer 1,000 cuts. Listening to Heimdall's report, Thor sighed softly and asked, "Is there no news from Loki? I have been paying attention to the movement of the Rainbow Bridge. Since we took the risk to send Rocky last time, the defense over there has become more stringent. So far, I have not seen any movement from the Rainbow Bridge." Heimdall also sighed, and then said, "If my eyes were still there, we wouldn't have to worry so much." Heimdall opened his eyes, and what he saw was not the deep eyes with a starry sky like before, but pure white. There was a knife mark on his face from the corner of his left eye to the corner of his right eye. This knife directly blinded him. It was done by the Warner God King Sea God himself. It is for this reason that he can no longer see everything in the universe as before. Heimdall, who lost these eyes, is an Asgardian who is slightly stronger than ordinary Asgardian fighters. He can still see now because he has installed a pair of false eyes, otherwise it would be difficult for him to fight normally. Thor nodded sadly. He still had a glimmer of hope for Loki. Although his younger brother often cheated him, he would not betray him in such a big scene. This is why Loki always cheats him, but Thor never really kills him. While the two were chatting, there was a sudden commotion in the crowd in the distance. Thor stood up, opened his right hand, and the Thor's hammer beside him flew into his hand. "What's going on?" Thor said. "Someone has invaded the north." A frontline soldier ran to say. "North? Isn't that where the energy source of the shield is?" Heimdall asked in surprise. As soon as the words fell, there was a burst of thunder in Heimdall's ears, and when he turned his head, Thor had disappeared, and he had already flew out with the hammer in his hand. Heimdall couldn't help admiring, Sol's strength has improved significantly during this period of time. Even without a hammer, he can still have this flying speed. What he experienced in the Dark Country really has a great influence on him. After all, Heimdall also ran out to keep up with Thor. When Thor arrived at the energy source of the protective cover, he said badly as soon as he reached the door, and the Asgardian warriors guarding the energy had all fallen by now. Because the Dark Elves broke into Asgard and caused heavy damage, it was impossible to repair it all at once. Asgard used its maximum ability to create a temporary protective shield device, so Thor sent more people to guard it. I didn't expect this device to be hacked now. The moment Thor opened the door and walked in, he happened to see a person standing next to the energy device, shouting loudly. "For Warner God's domain!" "No!" Thor stepped forward and ran, but it was too late. The explosion was one step ahead of him, and the huge energy impact directly sent Thor flying upside down, hitting the wall fiercely. Looking at the energy device that turned into ruins again, Thor murmured, "It's over, it's over." Heimdall ran over, and seeing this scene, his face was completely dark. This is their last support. Chapter 166 Killing the Enemy to Die. "Sol, stop sitting here, we have to go back quickly." Heimdall stepped forward and shook Thor, who was sitting slumped on the ground, and sighed softly. As soon as the protective cover disappeared, Asgard had to start the final battle. Bloody battle! Thunder God's memories flashed through his mind like a revolving lantern, scene after scene, childhood memories, happy, sad, and angry with Loki, all came to his mind, making people so nostalgic and angry. Loki, if you can, don't come back. Lei Shen stood up, his eyes were more dignified than ever before. At the moment he got up, he had already discarded all his innocence. At this moment, he only had firmness in his eyes. Let's go and fight! Thor said flatly, walking forward without looking back. When Heimdall heard this, he was stunned for a moment, because he saw a resolute look on Thor's face that he had never seen before. Even in the 1,000 years of battle before him, he had never shown this look. He is now a real growth. The two came to the main hall, and just standing at the entrance of the main hall, they felt a murderous aura coming from inside. Looking up, the people of Asgard saw the two Thors, and they all gave way tacitly. On this bottomless road, at the throne at the end, a long-haired man is sitting on the throne. This long-haired man is neither Odin nor anyone from Asgard. This person is the God King of the Vanir Protoss, Sea God. I'm asking again, are you really not going to obey me? Sea God said. At his feet, there was a person. That person was one of the 3 warriors of Asgard and one of Thor's friends since childhood, Fandral. Although Fandral was stepped on by the opponent, he still refused to let go, snorted coldly, and said, "Humph, obey you? I might as well obey a dog." The sea god sighed softly, a cruel look suddenly appeared in his eyes, and said, "What a pity, I can only ask you to die." As he spoke, he raised his hand, and the water vapor in the air condensed into droplets visible to the naked eye, floating towards his hand, and countless water droplets turned into streams of clear water, surrounding his hand, turning into a fistful of water. What a tall trident! Poseidon held back his hand, pointed the tip of the trident to Fandral lying on the ground, and said, "Last chance." Fandral sneered, slowly closed his eyes, and said, "Asgard won." Before he could finish speaking, the trident in Sea God's hand dropped, and Fandral's head was separated from his body. "No!" A shout came from outside the hall, followed by a thunderbolt. Sea God squinted his eyes, and kicked out calmly, kicking Fandral's body out. When the thunderbolt was about to concentrate on Fandral, it disappeared in an instant. Thunder God caught Fandral's body and looked at Fandral's head, which was still at Sea God's feet. Before he could speak, Sea God's words rang out. "Why, you want a head, I'll give it to you." After all, Sea God got up and kicked Fandral's head away fiercely. This kick came suddenly and cruelly. The head hit Thor's face directly, and instead of retreating, he reached out to catch the falling head. Looking down at the head with eyes closed in his hands, with a look of unwillingness on his face, Thor said softly, "Brother, Asgard is handed over to me, don't worry." After all, Lei Shen bent down and put it aside, connecting it with his body, letting it lie peacefully beside him. When he looked up at Sea God again, Thor's expression was calmer than ever, but his eyes were full of lightning. At this time, thunder and lightning began to flash outside. Thor was furious, furious in the true sense. "Ha ha 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 ha, little soul, what, do you want to fight me, can you beat me?" Even though there was thunder and lightning outside, the relaxed expression on Poseidon's face did not change at all, he just quietly looked at Thor in front of him, holding the trident in his hand. "You come out to fight, it's not easy to stretch your hands and feet inside," Thunder God said. Sea God looked around, the hall was full of people, there were not many places where he could walk, here, every blow would kill someone. "It's up to you." Sea God smiled, and then flew out of the door. When flying over Thor, a powerful coercion came from Poseidon. If it was someone else, the scare to kneel down was real, not a joke. Thor was indifferent, still standing firmly in place. "It's interesting," Sea God thought. After flying out, Heimdall gasped with lingering fear. The coercion just now was directed at Thor, but he also felt that coercion standing beside him. The Sea God really has abilities, and it's not a lie that he is the second largest god's domain under Asgard. "Heimdall, if anything happens to me, Asgard, please," Thor said calmly. Heimdall opened his mouth, wanting to say not to die, but in this situation, what else to do? Sea God came in, so many Asgardians here would not survive. Thor can still buy a little time outside, and buy time that he doesn't know what else is useful. "I will bet my life to protect Asgard." Heimdall said seriously. Thor smiled freely, turned to look at the Asgardian behind him, and said, "Don't worry, everyone, you'll be fine." After finishing speaking, he turned around and went out. Everyone saw Thor's back, but everyone's eyes were full of sadness. In their eyes, Thor didn't go to kill the enemy, but to die. They are not fools. The current situation is extremely bad for them in Asgard. It is difficult to make a comeback. Outside, Sea God was sitting on a throne made of water, looking at Thor, who came out with a smile on his face. "Farewell finished." Sea God smiled. "It's just a farewell, I will cut off your head, and then drink it with the celebration wine." Lei Shen said lightly. The words in his mouth were not low at all. The smile on Poseidon's face slowly froze. The other party's words made him a little angry. He stood up. The moment he got up, the throne behind him turned into a stream of water, circling around his body. "It would be great if I could do what you wish, but unfortunately, I don't see that you have such strength." Chapter 167 The Use of Divine Power. The water waves around Sea God solidified into a solid long trident in his hand, which he held tightly in his hand. Thunder God narrowed his eyes, silver lightning flashed on his body, and his figure surged away at this moment. "Drink!" With a sharp shout, Lei Shen, who was still in front of him just now, his voice sounded behind Sea God. Sea God hadn't even turned his head, and out of the corner of his eye he could already see the flash of thunder behind him. If this attack was underestimated, the energy contained in it would be enough for him to eat a pot. The lightning speed was extremely fast, and it was too late for Sea God to notice him. The hammer hit his back, and powerful lightning instantly injected into his whole body, numbness spread all over his limbs, and he even flew out. Heimdall, who was watching the battle from a distance, couldn't help but exclaimed and said, "Awesome!" Sol's use of his own lightning power has become stronger and stronger during this period, and he didn't just smash it with a hammer. Yes, beautiful. Since the reality gem incident, Thor, who was called the God of the Hammer by Hanyu, has been working hard to develop his own abilities. Hanyu is right, because he is the God of Thunder, so the hammer is in his hands, not because he has a hammer, so he is Thor. The power of thunder and lightning is his own power, not given by the hammer. It's not over yet. A few wisps of lightning flashed in Lei Shen's eyes, and the hand holding the hammer handle was slightly exerted, and several bowl-thick arcs shot out from his body, dancing on the hammer with teeth and claws. Thunder Hammer. The hammer was raised above the head, and countless electric arcs jumped from the hammer, condensing into a giant hammer composed of electric arcs and about 5 or 6 meters high in mid-air. As Thor swung the hammer, the giant hammer also followed. Next, it ruthlessly bombarded Poseidon's body. The sea god's surroundings, which had already made people unable to see the situation clearly, now had a thick cloud of smoke and dust because of this attack. "What should we do? Lord Sea God was beaten twice in a row and he didn't stand up, let's go help him." Someone from the Warner Protoss said anxiously when they saw Sea God being beaten one after another. As soon as this person took a step, he was stopped by the people around him. When he turned his head, he saw a faint smile on the face of the people around him, and said, "Lord Sea God is relaxing, let him play." When they were talking like this, Sea God's faint laughter could be heard in the puff of smoke. "It's so comfortable. This massage is really good. It helped me move around." The figure standing in the smoke waved his hand lightly, and the thick smoke quickly dissipated under the wind of his palm. The sea god was still standing in place intact, and his body didn't even have the scorched injuries from the high-voltage lightning strike. Poseidon straightened his clothes, turned to Thor god not far away, whose complexion became extremely dignified, and said with a light smile, "If there are any other tricks, use them all, no matter what Uncle says, you are thousands of years older than you, so you can't beat you directly, come on, otherwise it would be embarrassing for others to say that I am bullying the small." Both he and Odin are near long-lived existences. To Sea God, Thor is really just a younger brother. He just released water. Even if Sol's attack just now is included in his previous attack methods, it is definitely a killer move, said an Asgardian warrior who fought with Thor in the Nine Realms. Sea God must be lying. He's just trying to maintain his momentum. That's right, that's it. Another Asgardian warrior said in disbelief. It's just his excuse, even he himself didn't believe it. Looking at the sea god who was standing there, the latter had a smile on his face, and he still had a handsome look standing on the spot. It didn't look like he was pretending, but yes, he is really fine. Damn it, this guy really has some strength. Heimdall said in a deep voice as he thumped the wall. Field. Thor stared closely at the smiling Poseidon not far away, his eyes were more focused and serious than ever before, and a feeling that he had never felt before spread all over his body. Is this the feeling of death? Ha, it seems that this time is really bad. This guy's oppressive power is really beyond what ordinary people can give. Lei Shen laughed at himself in a low voice. He didn't hold back the attack just now, as strong as it looked, it was as strong as it actually was, without any falsehood. But even this kind of attack didn't do much damage to Sea God. Just how strong is the latter's defense? It doesn't matter, if you fight, you will die anyway. The power of thunder and lightning in Thor's body has long been ready to go. Countless lightning arcs gushed out from his body, dancing on the surface of his body, and his eyes were covered by lightning. Dark clouds with lightning flashed in the sky, and there was a roar, and thunder and lightning with the width of a big tree fell from the sky, but they didn't hit Sea God, but all fell on Thor God. This ferocious thunderbolt fell towards Thor, and dozens of hundreds of equally powerful thunderbolts fell towards Thor. Those who didn't know thought he was committing suicide. But someone found that those thunderbolts gathered in the sky above Thor, and a skeleton of the upper body emerged. With more and more thunderbolts, the skeleton from the beginning became muscular and had general facial features. That colossus, is its soul? Someone exclaimed. I saw the giant statue of thunder formed on the head of Thunder God, its face transformed by thunder and lightning, and its facial features vaguely resembled the god of thunder. If you don't get entangled in the details, this is the god of thunder himself. Hey guy, what kind of operation is this? Sea God watched this scene, and the smile on his face gradually disappeared. He didn't even know how to do this operation, and it had to control his own abilities to a superb level. But the Poseidon's Vanir Protoss is also a group of high-tech aliens. Although they also have divine power, they release it more through weapons. Few people study how to simply use their hands and feet to release energy. Because in this way, in the early stage, the attack power is very weak. Even if one's own energy reserves are stronger than the opponent's, the attack released is not as good as others with weapons, so few people study how to simply attack. Freed. If you have to classify these methods of controlling divine power, then most gods like Thor, Poseidon, and Odin belong to B-level, that is, they can use their own divine power to attack, but most of them are issued by weapons. To be able to use thunder and lightning to transform into a thunder colossus like the current thunder god at will, at least it must reach the top level of A-level. The smile on Sea God's face disappeared, and Thunder God naturally saw it. At this moment, he had a somewhat intoxicated look on his face. He had never felt so full of thunder power in his body, and this was his original strength. Without Han Yu, I might not be able to use my divine power proficiently until now. I am the god in charge of thunder and lightning, not the hammer. Thunder God muttered a few words, looked up at Sea God, and shouted. Sea God, come and try my move. Chapter 168 Thunder Colossus. This move condensed most of Thor's divine power. This giant statue of thunder is 7 or 8 meters high. Its condescending posture is like a god looking down at mortals, making it difficult for people to resist. When the Asgardians saw this giant thunder statue, their eyes showed excitement. Even if they were not close to the battlefield, they could still feel the heavenly power from this giant statue. This is the real god's heavenly power. People on the sea god's side, especially the frost giant and the fire giant, all looked dumbfounded after seeing the thunder giant statue. The two of them have more or less been in contact with Thor. In their impression, Thor is just a muscular idiot wielding a hammer. Although it is difficult to solve, it is hard to say that he is afraid. But now seeing this giant statue of thunder, a sense of fear from the heart spreads all over the body. The two looked at each other, and both could see the surprise in the other's eyes. The flame giant murmured, it's such a strong energy. If we were to pick it up at this level, we should die here, right? The frost giant clenched his fists tightly, a little unwilling, but in the next second, he could only sigh helplessly, and said, the current Thor has really improved a lot, and he seems to be completely different from the previous one. A person, if he had behaved like this earlier, he would have been the god king of Asgard long ago. But we have to trust Sea God. I don't think Sea God will lose to that kid solution. The flame giant said. The frost giant nodded. The sea god is also the king of the realm, only weaker than Odin, and he will definitely not lose to Thor. Both comforted themselves in their hearts. Not far away, a look of seriousness appeared in Sea God's eyes. He felt a sense of threat coming from the giant thunder statue above Thor's head. This blow cannot be underestimated. Poseidon's palm was facing a certain place, and his 5 fingers slightly bent. The movement was a bit puzzling. Seeing this action, Thor frowned. He was too familiar with this action, and he did the same action when he summoned Thor's hammer. The next moment, an object flew from a distance at such a high speed that it even produced a sonic boom in mid-air. Immediately afterwards, it was held in Sea God's hands, and everyone was able to see the appearance of the object. The whole body of this object is matched with gold and royal blue. And the slender handle is mainly blue, with strands of gold spiraling from top to bottom, and there are faintly visible scales on the handle that are no more than half the size of a pinky fingernail, evenly distributed on the handle. As for the head of the trident, the main halberd in the middle is about the length of an adult's forearm, and the auxiliary halberds on both sides are thinner and flatter, with the halberd head slightly tucked inward. "That's the Sea God's special weapon, the Sea God's trident," exclaimed the knowledgeable Asgardian. Someone continued, "I heard that it was a piece of iron in the sea found by the Sea God a long time ago, and then handed over to the previous generation of dwarf kings to build it. The weight alone can make 10 strong men unable to lift it together. Oh my God, he can swing it so easily, it's scary," said another. Sea God waved the trident casually a few times, pointing the head of the halberd obliquely at the ground, and with his back behind his back, he smiled at Lei Shen. "If you can let me take out this trident, you will be considered a glorious defeat." Staring at the long halberd closely, Thor dared not slack off. Poseidon could take 2 moves from him with his body alone, and his defensive power was already stronger than he expected. Now he picked up his own exclusive weapon. The aura of the whole person is not sharp, it feels as if he is integrated with the trident, ready to attack at all times, and it is a fatal move when he makes a move. It seems that this guy's ability to become the god of the sea is not in vain, but the arrow is on the string, and he has to do it. Thunder God let out an angry roar. Nearly 80% of the thunder force in his body was poured into the giant statue at this time. The Colossus also opened its mouth wide and let out a roar. Just hearing the roar of the Colossus, ordinary soldiers would feel numb and unable to move. Thor rushed towards the Sea God, and the lightning flashed in the hands of the Thunder Colossus above his head, and solidified into a huge Thor's hammer. Although it was large in size, its speed did not decrease at all, and it quickly reached the Sea God. He smashed it. A sapphire blue brilliance flashed in Sea God's eyes, and the trident in his hand burst out with a burst of powerful energy, which instantly solidified into a layer of crystals on the surface of the trident. Blue energy visible to the naked eye hovered all over his body, and under the low shout of Sea God, he held the trident and stabbed at Thor's hammer. "Shake the hammer with a halberd." A burst of extremely powerful energy fluctuations spread to the surroundings, and the ground or houses passing by along the way were all broken. Fortunately, the main hall is far stronger than the houses outside, otherwise this move will hurt half of Aspen. The guardians are gone. When Hanyu sees this scene, he will start to complain about Huaxia again. "Look what you've protected." The power of thunder in the thunder giant statue had already poured all of it towards Sea God at this time, and the thunderous coercion that erupted made the flame giant and frost giant who were watching from a distance know more clearly, if the 2 of them go pick it up, it will definitely be turned into coke under this blow. "Die to me!" Thor roared, and the lightning on his body rushed towards the giant thunder statue above. The body of the Thunder Colossus became more and more solidified. And its attacks became stronger and stronger. Boom! A loud noise accompanied by waves of royal blue and silver energy ripples exploded from where the 2 meet, covering the entire Asgard sanctuary. Under the impact of this energy, many people were blown away by the shock, fell directly to the ground and vomited a few mouthfuls of blood. Among them, the Asgardians were included. The energy dissipated, and Thor knelt on the ground. The divine power in his body was dissipating at this moment. He felt that his eyes became extremely heavy. It seemed that as long as he relaxed, he would completely fall to the ground and pass out. What about others? Thor struggled to stand up from the ground, but when he stood up, his legs were already bent out of shape, and he was trembling on the spot. Just as he stood up, he raised his head and looked forward. Fist, smashed up from his chin fiercely. Thor's sturdy figure of nearly 180 kilograms was actually thrown into the air by this punch, turned backwards several times before landing, and smashed a hole in the ground. How is it possible? Heimdall in the main hall looked at the scene in front of him, his eyes widened. At the place where the 2 moves collided, a person was still standing there, patting the dust on his body at this time. His clothes were a little tattered by the impact just now, but he was fine. The person standing here is the sea god. Chapter 169 The Fierce Sibling. If someone observes carefully, he can see that there is a layer of faint blue energy on the surface of sea god's body, which is slowly dissipating at this moment. This is not his divine power. I quite like this suit, but you broke it for me. Sea god walked towards Thunder god, and kicked his chin again towards the latter, who was struggling to remember. I'll fuck you. This kick sent Thor flying more than 10 meters away, and wiped a long trace on the ground. His internal organs, which had been displaced, fluctuated even more at this time, and he spit out a big mouthful of blood. His eyes became more dizzy, and his mind was dizzy. He was at the end of his battle now, and he could only hold his breath and not close his eyes. Poseidon's originally flowing long hair became a little messy, and he thought to himself, this kid is really strong, the energy shield given by Thanos is really useful, otherwise, under the attack just now, I would still, it really hurts. The faint blue energy on him a few seconds ago was given by Thanos, the energy from his cosmic heart. Just the incomplete heart of the universe, the energy given can resist Thor's life-threatening blow. If it is complete, I don't know how terrible it will be. That's it, I can still fight, I can fight with you all day long. Lei Shen struggled to stand up, suddenly thought of what a friend said, and said it out of the mouth, laughing out loud himself. When he smiled like this, it affected the wounds in his body, causing him to vomit a few mouthfuls of blood again. Can you fight? I will let you fight. The sea god rushed over, swung the trident in his hand, and slapped Thor heavily on Thor's abdomen, and then sent him flying upside down in a circle, lying on the ground in a state of embarrassment. I'm too lazy to talk nonsense with you. After you die, Asgard will be finished. I will be the new king of Asgard. Unfortunately, you can no longer see it. A fierce look flashed across Sea God's eyes. And he raised up the trident in his hand, the head of the halberd glistening with coldness was ready to cut off Thor's head at any moment. Die! The trident plunged down, and before it touched Thor, a rainbow light came from a distance and directly hit Sea God, sending him flying dozens of meters away. Seeing this burst of colorful light, Heimdall's eyes widened instantly. He was very familiar with this light, it was the light of the Rainbow Bridge. The light dissipated, and 4 figures appeared in everyone's eyes, 2 women and 2 men. One of the boys holding the battle axe put down his hand, and looked at the disbelieving sea god in the distance with a smile. Soul! Loki stared, and hurried to help Thor, who was lying on the ground. Seeing the latter's miserable state, Loki gritted his teeth. He had never seen Thor suffer so badly. Hurt. This is still the first time. Ah! Loki, it's you. You're back. It looks like you've brought someone back. Thor's eyes were already swollen beyond belief, and he narrowed his eyes to look at Loki, with a cry on his face. With an ugly smile, his words made him cough up a few more mouthfuls of blood. Anger filled Loki's brain at this moment, and he looked at Poseidon with only one meaning, that is, he wanted him to die. Sister, I'll take care of Soul, can he please you? Loki didn't look up, but Hanyu and the others knew who he was talking to. Hela looked down at the seriously injured Soul, then at the sea god who was holding the sea god's trident in the distance, nodded in satisfaction, and said in her heart, not bad, I can force this old boy to take out the sea god's trident. Halberd, my younger brother is quite powerful in battle. Since you call me sister, then I will help you as hard as I can, and you have to take care of that kid. Hela had an expression of enjoyment on her face. As soon as she returned to Asgard, she felt that divine power was constantly being produced in her body. She brushed her hair from back to front, and the black hair that was originally hanging around her shoulders turned into a few strands. Upturned horns, like a crown or something. Coupled with the celestial star god fighting clothes she was wearing, it made her look even more majestic. This battle suit is really powerful. It can actually help me absorb energy. Hela sighed in her heart. The energy that usually takes a minute to absorb is now reduced to 10 seconds to complete the absorption, which greatly improves her battery life. More durable. Hela looked at the sea god in the distance and said, Njord, I never thought that you would actually invade Asgard when we meet again. It seems that you were not afraid enough before. Poseidon's face was a little ugly, and he thought, why is this woman here, shouldn't she be imprisoned in hell? The two have known each other for a long time. Thousands of years ago, the two fought against each other. At that time, Hela was already an invincible female god of war. She killed many warriors of the Vanir Protoss and fought against Sea God. At that time, although Hela didn't beat Sea God, she was only slightly inferior, not completely defeated. Sea God was also a little annoyed by this female devil who was fighting harder and harder. Others start to feel a little depressed when they lose the wind, but she is fine, and when she feels that she is about to lose, she fights harder. At that time, Poseidon thought he could kill her. But he had to get an arm and a leg, because Hela's style of play was too brutal. Heimdall was also surprised by the people present. He also came from the era of Hela. Whether it was Odin leading Hela to conquer the 9 realms, or Odin sending the Valkyries to attack Hela later, he was always watching. Inner. Regarding Hela's strength, Heimdall was one of the few people present who knew her combat power. Even this guy was brought back, Asgard is saved. Heimdall was a little happy. Hela's return may not be all good, but at least she can be sure that this woman will never give up Asgard to others. In the past, she was the most difficult enemy to deal with, but now, she is the most reliable teammate. Hela took catwalks and walked towards Sea God step by step. With a twist of her hands on her waist, 2 long swords appeared in her hands, and every step carried great coercion. Looking at the menacing Hela, Poseidon's expression was a bit grim. At first he thought that Odin would lose his divine power, and there would be no one to fear in Asgard. He didn't expect another Hela to appear after Thor. The fighting power of these 2 brothers and sisters is terrifying, especially Hela, who has been fighting for 1,000 years, and has extremely rich combat experience, which is even worse than that of Sea God. Moreover, the characteristic of the Asgardians is that as they age, their strength will become stronger and stronger. Unless they are dying, the combat power of the elderly Asgardians can easily reach the level of commanding a planet. Never fail. Chapter 170 Very enthusiastic. Chi. There was a sound of breaking wind, and Hela's figure disappeared in place. Poseidon's eyes widened so much that even he couldn't catch Hela's speed. No, you won't look at me the way you did before, then I'm really underestimated. As soon as Poseidon put up his defensive posture, Hela's laughter sounded behind Poseidon, and then a sharp blade attacked him. Sea God bit the tip of his tongue, forced himself to wake up, and managed to dodge, but the opponent's attack speed was too fast, he was still a second late in dodging, and his cheek was cut by the sword blade. Frowning, Sea God jumped some distance away, touched his face. The blood and tingling sensation on his face were extremely real. What's the matter with this woman? Even her peak strength 1,000 years ago has never seen such a level. Poseidon's eyes danced on Hela, and his pupils shrank suddenly. He noticed the battlesuit on the ladder. This? Seeing the other party sizing her up unscrupulously, Hela squinted her eyes with a dangerous look in her eyes. She stomped on the ground with her feet and shot out. The sea god's vigilance instantly increased, and the opponent's combat experience would not be weaker than his own at all, it could even be said to be superior. After all, she is a god king, so she doesn't fight often, and the other party is an executive officer. Fighting is already a common thing for her. In terms of fighting, to be honest, Sea God may not be as good as Hela. Sea God held the long handle of the trident with both hands, and after drinking in a low voice, he stabbed the long halberd into the ground, mobilizing the surrounding water sources, forming a semicircular shield around his body, protecting him in the ground. When the water-patterned shield was just formed, several sword blades pierced in front of Sea God, startling him. It wasn't over yet. Behind the blade, Poseidon saw Hela standing outside with her hands raised high, piercing many dark green spikes from the ground, and as she lowered her hands, they stabbed straight at Poseidon. Sea God can only resist passively. Damn it, I'm unlikely to beat Hela in Asgardly. This guy can absorb energy continuously here, and he can't finish the fight. I must be the one who dies in the end. Sea God said in his heart, it would be good to fight anyone in Asgard, the opponent's energy will not increase for no reason, they all have a rough upper limit of ability, and they know to what extent the opponent will be exhausted. Hela does not, her energy source is Asgard, and Asgard will provide her with a steady stream of energy, so Hela will become more and more crazy as she fights, and the damage and blood will only make her more excited and make her opponent lead to more violent attacks. While Sea God was thinking about miscellaneous things in his mind, Hela didn't stop attacking. In just 10 seconds, his water shield was covered with densely packed sharp blades. Damn it, I didn't expect this lunatic to come back. Take a step back and go back to discuss with Thanos. I don't want to die in vain. Poseidon immediately made up his mind. He was really afraid of Hela. The latter was like a mad dog. Even if you knew you could beat it, you would definitely eat a big piece of it in the end. Sea God is not such a reckless person, he will not go up to kill recklessly, and in the end he will feel a loss if he hurts the enemy 1,000 and hurts himself 500. If he doesn't want to fight, he can leave. If he wants to leave, Hela can't keep him. After making up his mind, the tip of the trident in Sea God's hand gathered wisps of substantial sapphire blue energy, turned the trident with both hands, drew a circle in front of him, and pierced the ground again. Huge energy was transmitted from the trident to the ground, and the entire Asgard island began to tremble, causing many people to scream. But Sea God took the opportunity to run away, and shouted behind him while running, "Hela, you wait for me, when I come back next time, you Asgardians will all die." As soon as his voice came out, it stopped abruptly. When he turned his head, there was something flying in front of him. If he hadn't been quick to raise his trident to block it, the thing might have split him open just now. The powerful anti-shock force caused Sea God Fifei's body to be smashed into the ground, and he turned over several times on the ground in embarrassment. He raised his head in pain, and there was an axe stuck in the ground not far away. The thing that shot him down seemed to be this axe. Immediately afterwards, a voice sounded not far away, and a young man walked to the side of the axe, pulled it out and carried it on his shoulder. "Everything must die. If you die, the guys from Warner God's realm will live. If you insist on resisting, they will score 8th. Apart from Hela and Thor, Hanyu was the only one who dared to be so arrogant when he could speak to Sea God. When he said this, he even made an 8 with his gestures. Although he didn't know if the other party could understand it, it was also the other party's business. Looking at this smiling boy, Poseidon's expression was a little cloudy. Just now when Hela appeared, this boy was by his side, and seeing him pick up the axe, it seems that he opened the rainbow bridge just now. "La Fei! Sir Tuer, hurry up!" Sea God said in a low voice. The two names in his mouth were Frost Giant and Flame Giant. After hearing his paging, the two giants arrived at Sea God's side in flying machines, and the three main forces of this attack were all dispatched. Seeing the two of them approaching him, a hint of sternness flashed in Sea God's eyes, and he immediately raised his eyes to look at Hanyu, and asked, "Did you bring Hela and Loki back?" "Yeah, what's the matter?" Hanyu smiled. "You can beat Mephisto." Sea God was shocked. "No, I didn't fight him." The first half of Hanyu's words made Sea God heave a sigh of relief. If he didn't start a fight, it should be a tricky way to bring Hela out, but Hanyu added another sentence, which made Sea God's scalp tingle. "We made a friend who was very enthusiastic and proactive." Hanyu's words were like a bolt from the blue. Made a friend? Still enthusiastic? If it weren't for the fact that Mephisto's name wasn't easy to mispronounce, Sea God doubted whether the two of them were referring to the same person. Sea God has met Mephisto a few times, and every time he sees him, he smiles, but don't think it's a friendly smile. His smile is full of cunning, like a snake staring at its prey. As long as the prey is careless, it will be eaten directly by him. Even people like Poseidon and Odin don't want to deal with Mephisto, because the person who has the last laugh may not be him. Chapter 171 The Road Narrows. It was precisely because Sea God knew what kind of guy Mephisto was, so when he learned that Hanyu and Mephisto were friends, it was the most surprising thing in 1,000 years. Sea God frowned, thought for a moment, and then said, "What is your relationship with Asgard? What did they give you? I can give you better. Now that Asgard has fallen, Odin has become a waste without divine power, why don't you help me, etc. I have annexed Asgard, so you must benefit, how about it?" He knew that the person who could bring Hela out safely in the hands of Mephisto must have transcendent strength. If Sea God went by himself, he might not be able to do this kind of thing, and he would have to pay a price. What he said made Hanyu raise his eyebrows. He actually wanted to win him over. It was a beautiful idea. He pinched his nails and said impatiently, "Do you want to fight or not? If you don't, just come here. Lead the death, I am too lazy to talk nonsense with you." Poseidon's face gradually became gloomy. In front of him was an unknown boy who could make friends with Mephisto, and behind him was Hela who was eyeing him. He was now caught in a dilemma. Suddenly, Poseidon caught a glimpse of a girl next to Loki from the corner of his eye. The girl had been eating there with a bunch of unknown things since she came out. "Those mouthfuls of food, people who didn't know I thought she was here for a trip." This girl might be a breakthrough point, take her as a hostage. A trace of cruelty flashed in Sea God's eyes, brilliance surged on his feet, he ran out with the fastest strength, and moved to Ganada's side in an instant, wrapped his arms around her neck, and held the trident with the other hand. Halberd, put the head of the halberd on Ganada's neck. Everyone was shocked, and they all complained. Sea God, a shameless guy, actually took a girl hostage. That's right, and this girl is so pretty, how can he do it? Humph, as expected of an intruder. This behavior really looks like what they can do. The people on Asgard's side spurned, and at the same time they were very worried. After seeing Ganada's actions, they were even more surprised. Ganada stuffed the food in her hand into her mouth. I don't know how the small cherry mouth was able to stuff so much food, and her cheeks were bulging, like a hamster. Humph, you know you're scared. If you don't want her to have something to do, just back off 100 meters honestly, or I'll kill her. Sea God laughed a few times, and was about to appreciate the worried expressions on the faces of Hanyu and the others, but found that Hela and Hanyu had intriguing expressions on their faces, and even Loki sighed lightly. Shook his head. Hanyu and Hela, who were a little nervous because they thought he was going to play some tricks, instantly relaxed. Young man, the road is narrow. Hanyu couldn't help laughing. He had thought that there would be a fierce battle. Fortunately, the other party directly sent himself to the strongest of them. He didn't die fast enough and took the initiative to send it forward. Hela couldn't help laughing, she brushed her hair with both hands again, and the hair returned to normal, which meant that the fighting state was cancelled, and she said to Hanyu, since the affairs here are under control, I will leave it to you two, I'm going to smash and clean up the surrounding ones. Okay, let's go. Hanyu nodded. Hey. What do you mean, don't you care about this girl's life? I will really kill her. The other party's reaction was too unexpected. Sea God shouted at them, and touched the trident in his hand, but found that he was like touching an iron plate, and the trident in his hand became paperless the same, the slightest poke does not move. Looking down, Ganada was looking at him with blinking eyes. Suddenly, she raised her hands and grabbed the spikes on both sides of the trident. With her white and tender hands, the spikes were broken off like a biscuit, was thrown into her mouth directly by her, and she began to bite. This scene made Sea God stunned. She dismantled her trident and ate it. Don't! Just as Poseidon was about to push Ganada away, the latter had already removed the head of the main halberd, holding it in his hand like eating a biscuit, chewing it. You ate my weapon. Sea God rubbed his eyes in disbelief, afraid that it was an illusion or something, but when he looked up, the trident in his hand had turned into a long bare stick. The taste is not bad. Once you eat it, you will know that it is a very good weapon. You can also give me the rest, and I will let you die happily. Ganada's eyes sparkled, she looked at the remaining long stick in Sea God's hand, and said, Monster, monster! Sea God felt his whole body go numb, his trident was a masterpiece, not to mention invincible in the universe, it was also ranked in the top 10 among all the universe-level weapons. Who would dare to believe that he could turn mountains and seas with a wave of his hand, but now he was bitten by a girl who looked so young. These people are all monsters. No, if I continue like this, I will really die, I have to run. Sea God said in his heart, both Hanyu and Ganada surprised him. Seeing his body move, he came to the Frost Giant and the Flame Giant again, and whispered to them, the three of us will attack that man together, try to make as much noise as possible. And then I will take the two of you together. Run, do you understand? Understood. The two giants nodded. They are equipped with some equipment given by the Sea God, which can display their attribute strength. The Flame Giant opened his hands, and an extremely high-temperature flame surged in his palm. The Frost Giant gathered his hands together, and from time to time a few wisps of snowflakes spewed out from his palms. Both of them were planning their ultimate moves, but they didn't pay attention. A cruel look suddenly appeared in the eyes of the Sea God behind them, and with a flash in his hands, two mechanical devices appeared in his hands, facing towards the ice and fire. The giant patted him on the back. Sorry, in order to live, I have to sacrifice you. This slap was so powerful that the Frost Giant and the Flame Giant had no idea that the person whom they trusted to hand over their backs to each other would plot against them. Both were blown away by this force, and the device installed by Sea God behind them exploded at this moment. The two were blown to pieces, and the energy contained in their bodies also diffused around. The extremely cold ice and the high-temperature fire, the attributes that would originally be in conflict, but now no one will let the other, it becomes cold and hot, and the place contaminated by the cold air is frozen into a piece from the inside to the outside. Chapter 172 The Throne. And the place that was contaminated with high temperature was instantly vaporized, which was enough to show how high the temperature was. Slib. Seeing that the chaos had been caused, Sea God took advantage of the chaos and ran away without looking back. The moment he ran away, Hanyu's storm axe struck from behind him. Poseidon quickly opened the teleporter that the purple sweet potato had left for him earlier, opened a portal and got in, but at the moment the door closed, the storm axe arrived, and he just chopped off a large piece of Poseidon's right shoulder, fell to the ground together with the arm. Sea God's miserable scream sounded before the portal closed. Ganada, solve these things. Hanyu said. Ganada nodded, opened her rosy mouth, and absorbed all the energy before the extreme temperature of ice and fire spread more, without letting go of a single bit. After absorbing the energy, she even hiccuped. At the same time, the spaceships surrounding Asgard also exploded one after another, and a dark green flash was continuously beating on it for less than 3 seconds. Every time the dark green flash leaves, a battleship spaceship explodes, but within 3 minutes, all surrounding spaceships explode, and the scene is like fireworks. When the warriors of other races who were still fighting in Asgard saw this scene, their expressions became dull. They lost, completely lost. Even the sea god ran away, and there was no chance of a comeback. Everyone dropped their weapons and knelt down on the ground, and the surrounding Asgardian warriors quickly surrounded him and crossed him. Why did you let him go? This guy will come back to take revenge sooner or later. Seeing that the sea god didn't stay behind, only one arm was left behind, Hela glanced at the bloody arm lightly. She didn't feel any discomfort, but rather blamed her look at Hanyu. Hanyu spread his hands and said, who would have thought that he would use these two guys, the frost giant and the flame giant, as a shield? I didn't expect him to be so ruthless. Immediately, he turned his head to look at Ganada, patted her on the head, and said with a smile, how about it, eat well. Not bad, all good. Ganada patted her flat belly and said with satisfaction. I just said that there must be delicious food by my side, otherwise it would be so troublesome for you to catch dragons every day. Hanyu laughed. Then should you settle my wages this time? Ganada said playfully with her eyes bent into crescents. You're such a foodie. Hanyu shook his head helplessly, and his eyes suddenly stopped not far in front, where was the long handle of the sea god trident. He made a casual move, and the long handle flew into his hand. He waited and murmured, it's interesting. The weight of this long handle alone is not something ordinary people can afford. It should break 100,000 catties. This weight can kill a person with just a single hit. Even an existence like Thor dare not take such a blow head on, and only a ruthless eater like Ganada dares to break it up and eat it as biscuits. What, are you going to practice this thing for me? Ganada's eyes lit up, she just ate the head of the trident, and she still wanted to eat it when she saw Hanyu holding it. Hanyu rested his fingers on Ganada's forehead, took the long handle of the trident to the other side, and said, don't think about it, I plan to save it for other things. It's a pity that such a good stick was eaten by Ganada. He planned to refine it again and turn it into a new weapon. Name is Ruyi Golden Cudgel. After putting the long handle into the warehouse, Hanyu suddenly fell silent. He looked up at Hela and remained silent. Hela also knew what he meant, with a playful look on her pretty face, she said, why, are you going to send me back to hell now? I won't agree. Hanyu shook his head, walked to Saul's side, and said to him, this matter should be resolved by you, this is your housework. Regarding Hela's identity, Sol has already heard from Loki, and he was also very surprised that he had an older sister. On the one hand, he had such an older sister, and on the other hand, she was willing to help Asgard. If it were him, the way Thor came back to Asgard should be by killing him. It's just that he didn't know that if Hanyu didn't show up, Hela's way of returning home was indeed to kill him, and even poked him blind in one eye. Sol's previous experience was really miserable, but now it looks good. With Hanyu's intervention, Thor has not lost anything now. Hanyu handed a celestial bean to Sol, and the latter thanked him and took it. Once he ate the celestial bean, his injuries recovered visibly with the naked eye. Hela and Ganada looked at this hand in a daze. What is it? The recovery effect is ridiculously strong. They have seen healing medicines with good recovery effects, but they have never seen such a good one. According to the guess of the two, it would take at least half a month for Thor's injury to recover, and now it has recovered in less than 10 seconds. If this effect is sold in the interstellar universe, it will definitely cause a bloodbath. Seeing that Sol's injury had improved, Hela narrowed her eyes. She was ready to fight, and if there was anything wrong, she would strike immediately. Sol stared at Hela for a while, sighed softly, and said, "I'll give you the throne of Asgard, I don't want to take it, or in other words, I'm not qualified to take it now." His words surprised Loki around him. Did Sol say these words? Is he bewitched? Sol used to have a great desire for the throne, otherwise he wouldn't have been fighting outside all day, so he wanted to make military exploits for Odin to see, and then he could inherit the throne. In the past, Loki refused to accept and wanted to be king, but now that Sol has paid so much for Asgard, if Thor said he wanted to be king, Loki would be the first to agree with it. So when Sol said this, he was the most surprised among the few people. Hela frowned and said, "Why, your brother told me that you are very attached to the throne." Sol glanced at Loki, who looked a little embarrassed, and the latter seemed to have spoken bad things about himself in front of Hela. He looked back at Hela, and said, "There is indeed such a thing, but that is already a thing of the past now, it's not enough for me to want to be the king of Asgard." His self-deprecating appearance really made Loki feel that he had been hacked, and he subconsciously reached out and pinched Sol's face, otherwise he thought it was an illusion. Chapter 173. Sol knocked off Loki's hand, looked at him with some helplessness, and said, "I really want to be king, but for me now, I'm not qualified enough, I want to wander around in the universe for a while longer, okay, improve my strength, if possible, the throne of Asgard, I will give it to you, you are the eldest daughter of Odin." His free and easy manner made Hela's original thought of going to fight disappear, and he actually gave up the throne so freely. When I asked Loki before about what kind of person Thor was, I heard from Loki that Thor, the god of thunder, is a person who can only pick up a hammer to solve problems, do things regardless of the consequences, and be impulsive. After Thor went through this battle, if he said that he wanted to be king, no one in Asgard would object. Everyone saw his dedication to Asgard. But he still gave up such a good opportunity and chose to travel the universe and practice first. Hela didn't know what to say for a while. If Sol stiffened his neck to get the throne, with Hela's personality, he would definitely fight him. Now Sol not only does not want to, but also wants to leave Asgard. Hela looks at Hanyu, as if asking for his opinion. Hanyu was also surprised by this result. He originally planned to give Sol the storm axe if he sat on the throne and became the king of Asgard. A level weapon goes out. Thor's hammer is still a relatively common artifact, but the storm axe is not. When Hanyu used it to intercept Poseidon just now, he just flicked it casually, and the tomahawk knocked Poseidon to the ground without giving a chance. Finally, he can also cut off one arm from his invulnerable body. Hanyu felt that if he charged the green light energy into the storm axe and threw it out again, the power this time would be like that of a planet like the Earth, and it could be easily split in half, no exaggeration. If you go out with this kind of weapon, it's nothing to experience. It's like a level 50 player holding a level 100 weapon and going out to gain experience all the way. If you want to meet an opponent who can compete with Storm Axe, it is not an existence that Sol can handle at present. No matter how powerful the weapon is, it must have an owner who can bring out its full strength. Otherwise, with a full level weapon, it can only draw a. Which is so miserable. Hela, if you become the king, will you still fight in the 9 realms like before, I mean, the kind that turns the opponent into a slave? Hanyu asked. Hela stared straight into Sol's eyes, as if she wanted to see something in his eyes, whether it would be a conspiracy to give up the throne, but she saw nothing, only firmness, and she said helplessly. "Oh, I'm so troublesome, let's stop fighting, I've fought for so long, I should take a rest." Hela shook her head and said, her younger brother gave up the throne so freely, if she sat on it and went out to kill like before, she would look like a brother. However, I have something to say first. I can let go of those groups that have surrendered and did not participate in this operation, but I will not let go of the Frost clan, the Flame clan, and the Vanir Protoss. Hela looked to Hanyu, said. Flocks of people invaded Asgard. If it were me, I would not let them go. Now that you are the queen, you have the final say. Hanyu has no objection. Since the other party invaded Asgard, he must be prepared to be retaliated by Asgard. He does not participate, he just watches. If even Hanyu participates, there is no need to fight at all. Directly wipe out the opponent group. Well, let's do this first. Hela turned her head and looked behind, shouting, Heimdall, hurry up and organize people to settle the injured people, be smart, you are still peeking there. Heimdall was a little dazed, he looked at Saul, who nodded slightly to him, and Heimdall organized quickly. Heimdall didn't have much of an opinion on who would sit on the throne. He was just guarding the Rainbow Bridge. Now that the person on the throne was replaced by Hela, he didn't have any objections either. As long as the opponent's behavior is correct and for the good of Asgard, he will work hard for the throne, which is also his destiny. The warriors of the three tribes who were still on the island of Asgard saw several powerful opponents approaching at once, and the last psychological defense line was broken by themselves, allowing the Asgardian warriors to come up and detain them. Struggling now is futile. If you are honest, you can live longer. If you resist, you will die soon. Hanyu didn't care about the aftermath, and Asgard vacated a good room for him, and entertained him with delicious food and drink. Hanyu is now Asgard's great benefactor. If it weren't for him, Asgard would have fallen and become someone else's property. In the room, there is also Ganada. Hanyu was playing with his mobile phone, while Ganada was holding melons and fruits behind him, watching with interest. Han, what are you playing here? It looks so interesting. Looking at the villain walking around in the phone, Ganada's cool skills caught her staring. Here, it's a tower pushing game, you win if you retreat all the opponent's defense towers and crystals. Hanyu explained while playing. Ganada couldn't understand a lot of game terms he said, but the latter just found it very interesting, with cool characters and cool moves, and many cute characters who poked her girl's heart, make her look very excited. Hanyu could feel a strong gaze coming from the side, staring at him closely. He said helplessly, okay, I'll play for you for a while, but you can't click on the ranking inside, you can play casually if you match. Great! Ganada, who got the mobile phone, shouted happily, quickly took Hanyu's mobile phone, and started playing in a decent manner. At this time, there was a knock on the door of the room. After Hanyu responded, the door was pushed open, and it was Hela and Soul brothers who entered. At this moment, Hela had already changed out of the Star God battle clothes he gave her. She was wearing a light golden armor with a red cloak falling from her shoulders. The evil black eye makeup under her eyes was also removed. Go out! At this time, her face is like pink, with a touch of lipstick on her mouth, and the clothes on her body make her look a little more heroic and less crazy, and the removal of the black eye makeup also makes her look like before. The evil and enchanting aura of the old man was replaced by a kind of nobility from the inside out. As Odin's eldest daughter, Hela was born as an executive officer, so her temperament is naturally beyond the reach of ordinary people. Hey, your lady queen, hello. Hanyu stood up, bowed slightly to Hela, and said jokingly. Chapter 174 Strange City. Stop teasing me. Hela wrinkled her tall nose, and the three of them walked in and closed the door. Standing tall outside, she sat on a chair without caring about her image, and took a fruit on the table. He nodded and said, are you two used to living here? Let me know if you need anything. You are now our great benefactors in Asgard. Hanyu rolled his eyes, what do you mean the two of us live here? Your words are ambiguous. Hela also rolled her eyes back at him, and said, I'm too lazy to talk to you, so I'll ask you when you want to go back. Leave today. Hanyu said. So fast. After the matter is settled, I must leave. By the way, why didn't I see Odin? Where did he go? Hanyu asked. He wanted to ask as early as in the previous battle, but because the timing was wrong, he didn't ask. Soul said, my father and mother left Asgard before the incident happened, and now they live in a country called Norway on Earth. He said he wanted to try the life of ordinary people, the life of Asgard. It doesn't suit him anymore. Hanyu suddenly realized that in his memory, after the destruction of Asgard, the remaining Asgardians had indeed immigrated to the Earth, and they lived somewhere near the sea in Norway. Odin should also be living there now. Since he is fine, Hanyu doesn't care too much, and he just mentioned it anyway. What is Soul planning to do in the future? You said you want to go out for training, where are you going? Hanyu asked. Soul and Loki looked at each other, and the former said, Loki and I plan to manage the Kingdom of Fire and the Kingdom of Frost respectively, and we plan to manage it. Not to mention how good it will be, at least not as dark as before. Loki also nodded, and said with a smile, "This can be regarded as fulfilling one of my wishes. I always wanted to be a king before, and now I have fulfilled my wish. Moreover, I was originally from there, so it's good to manage it." What he said made Hela and Thor raise their brows. Loki is of the blood of the frost giants, and they both knew it, but they thought Hanyu didn't know, and they also thought that Loki would not say it so actively these things. Now that they heard him say that he came from the Frost Kingdom, they were still surprised. Hanyu was not surprised by the decision of the two, but nodded with a smile, expressing his agreement. His reaction made Sol and the others both surprised and normal. The surprise is that the other party knows that Loki is from the Frost Kingdom, and it is not surprising. The normal thing is that, as Hanyu, it seems that it is not impossible to know this kind of thing in advance. "What about the Vanna Protoss, what about Sea God?" Hanyu asked. Speaking of this, Hela showed a strange look on her face, and said, "We sent people to investigate over there. The Warner God's domain has been washed by blood." "Yes, you heard it right, it was washed by blood. When our people went to Warner God's domain, the whole city was covered in blood mist, corpses were lying on the ground, and all of them had one thing in common." Hanyu stared at Hela, raised his head to signal for her to continue. Hela said, "Their souls are gone. Everyone's body has become very dry. Their eyes are wide open, but their eyes are sunken. The whole person has become a skinny skeleton, which is very scary. We have interrogated those captured Warners. They were all confused and reacted very much to the fact that there was no one in the city. It didn't look like a trap. Obviously they didn't know what was going on. Moreover, there was something really weird." Saying that, Hela waved her hand and opened a floating screen, which played a video of Asgardian soldiers going to Warner God's domain. The scene inside was indeed scalp-numbing. Some of them were blood-spattered and decapitated, as if they had experienced a fierce battle. On the other hand, the death of the vast majority of people is what makes the scalp tingle the most. I saw them kneeling on their knees and facing somewhere, with praying expressions on their shriveled faces, and their hands clasped in front of them. Like, praying to the sky. It is these people who died in the state of losing their souls that Hela said. If they fell to the ground and died in a variety of ways, it might be nothing, but dying in this way is really too weird and terrifying. Hanyu rubbed his chin, frowning and thinking. Even if Sea God led the team out personally and took away most of the elite of Warner God's domain, it was impossible for them to be invaded by other races all at once. The technological level of Warner God's domain is not much lower than that of Asgard, and it is basically impossible for races from other worlds to take advantage of this to invade. Could it be that someone else got involved? Hanyu murmured. "Other guys? Do you have any idea who it is?" Hela asked. A figure appeared in Hanyu's mind, the family planning administrator who snapped his fingers in the Marvel world in his memory and made half of the universe disappear, Thanos. Thanos is the only war madman who has not reached the god level but surpasses most people. Hanyu was also surprised. In his memory, the Vanir Protoss was a group that had never appeared before. They belonged to the hidden world. How could they suddenly attack Asgard on a large scale? There must be someone behind this, otherwise Poseidon would not attack Asgard. They were happy watching the destruction of Asgard, so how could they come to invade, unless someone gave Sea God something behind his back, something that made Sea God think he could take Asgard smoothly. Sol, when you fought Sea God before, did you find anything weird about him? Hanyu asked. Suddenly asking this question, Thor also fell into deep thought. Suddenly, he clapped his hands and said. "That's right. Before you guys came, I used one of my most powerful moves so far, but he dispelled it. I noticed at that time that there was a faint blue light dissipating on his body, but it didn't match the color of his own energy, it was much lighter. The light blue one doesn't belong to the sea god's energy. Is it the space gem among the infinite gems?" Thinking of this, Hanyu shook his head and discarded this possibility. The space gem is not such a defensive item, and it has always been kept in Asgard's treasury, which is under the main hall. Sea God didn't even invade this, how could he get the space gem? If he got the space gem, he wouldn't have to spend so much trouble attacking Asgard from the outside, just open the huge portal and let those battleships blast inside, and it would be over sooner or later. Living. It's light blue, and it must have something to do with Thanos, could it be? Hanyu's eyes became strange, and a prop name came out of his mouth. Could it be the heart of the universe? Chapter 175 The Heart of the Universe. Thinking of this, Hanyu's hairs stood on end. In the Marvel world, he is a super fetish that surpasses infinite gems. Even an incomplete heart of the universe can easily conquer a galaxy. And a complete heart of the universe can subvert the universe, causing great changes in the universe in the blink of an eye, and even turning a universe into dust particles. It is a very terrible killer. Han Yu, what did you think of? What's going on? What is Thanos? What is the heart of the universe? Hela asked. Even an existence like Hela has never heard of the remoteness of the heart of the universe. She has stayed in hell for a long time. Thanos is a rising star, and she has never heard of it either. After all, this is what happened in the universe. The universe is not the size of a room in a hall. A sneeze in the hall can be heard in the room. A person who can become famous in a galaxy is already a very powerful existence. After hearing the word Thanos, Loki's expression froze obviously. He was no stranger to this name. Could it be that one of the reasons for the invasion of Asgard this time was also done by Thanos? Loki asked in disbelief. Also? You know him? Hela grasped the point of Loki's words very keenly, and said yes, which meant that the latter had participated in the battle initiated by this man named Thanos. Loki was silent for a while, and said slowly, I know him. I invaded the earth before, because this man gave me a scepter inlaid with the heart gem of the infinite gem and a large number of troops, so that I have the ability to attack earth. If it was him, it would be a little difficult. Loki felt that Thanos' strength would definitely not be that simple given that he could casually give himself a group of troops capable of conquering planets with the same level of technology as Earth, but he didn't think too much about it. It's a bit scary to let the sea god invade Asgard. In Loki's impression, Thanos is just a big alien who looks like a sweet potato, and belongs to the level of a warlord in the universe. I never thought that he could have a relationship with Warner God's domain, which is really unbelievable. Hela looked at Han Yu. She knew that the earth was Han Yu's home, and wanted to ask him if this really happened. Han Yu nodded. Hela said, what is the heart of the universe? I have never heard of this thing. Han Yu pondered for a moment, recalling the setting of the heart of the universe in his mind, but no matter how he thought about it, he couldn't think smoothly. Suddenly, he remembered that he had a good thing, and it was no problem to explain it for himself. He raised his right hand, put his fingers together, and a purple conch appeared in his palm, the long-lost magical conch. The eyes of Hela and the others became extremely strange, and even Ganada, who was playing games next to him, looked over. What does it mean to suddenly take out a conch? Han Yu chuckled, ignored their weird eyes, and asked the magic conch, what is the heart of the universe, the magic conch? The eyes of Hela and the others looked at Han Yu even more strangely. This person actually asked a question about a conch. As soon as Han Yu finished asking, Hela wanted to say that she should use other methods to find news about the heart of the universe. It would be better than watching people asking conch questions here. Before she could utter a word, the conch in front of her eyes shone with dazzling light, forming lines of words in mid-air like spirits. For the question what is the heart of the universe, the current answer is that the heart of the universe is literally the heart of the universe. The heart of the universe is broken into 4 fragments and scattered all over the universe, and one fragment of the heart of the universe can possess a powerful force exceeding 10,000 people. The characters formed by the light of the magical conch stayed in the air for half a minute before dissipating, and Han Yu and the others could see them clearly. Your stuff is amazing, can you sell it? Hela asked. She has been in hell for so long, and she has lost touch with many things. If she can have such a good thing, there is no need to investigate a lot of news. Just ask the conch. Han Yu turned his head away, put away the magical conch, and said with a very precious look, this is not for sale, just ask me if you have any questions. Stingy. Hela curled her lips and said, then what should we do now? If the Thanos you mentioned really has the heart of the universe, even if it's incomplete, we won't be able to deal with it, right? There is another solution. You can find those infinite gems in the universe to compete with Thanos. Judging from the news given by the magic conch, Thanos has not made a large-scale attack. It should be because he has not obtained all the hearts of the universe. Now to find a way to get this thing together, we must first find the Infinity Stones, and 5 Infinity Stones are not a problem for a broken universe heart, Han Yu said. Don't I remember 6? Hela said, she had heard of this kind of magical stone floating in the universe, I've heard people say that there are 6 of these stones. Han Yu nodded and said, there are 6 of them, but the conditions for obtaining one of them are very strict. You need to exchange your soul for a soul, and it must be the soul of a loved one. Hela and the others were silent. Is there such a weird infinite gem? I actually need this. If I really want to get it, I don't know how ruthless people are. 6 infinity gems gathered together can achieve a state of omniscience and omnipotence, but the power of 5 together is also hard to underestimate, so we just get 5. Han Yu said. Hela and the others nodded, expressing no objection. Now the earth already has the Mind Stone, the Space Stone, and the Time Stone, and I have the Reality Stone in my hand, and the last Power Stone that needs to be found. Han Yu said. No problem, let's start spreading the news immediately and let people find it. Hela said. You don't need to go looking for it. Han Yu waved his hand. Relying on the memory of his previous life, he told the location of the power gem. Can. Hela didn't feel surprised that Han Yu knew the location of the gem. Instead, she thought it was quite normal, so she immediately asked the Asgardian warrior standing outside the door to pass on the news and sent someone to look for it. In the future, we have to be prepared for such things in advance. I want to form a force. Will you participate? What kind of power? Hyla asked. It is used to unify and solve unnatural and huge disasters that cannot be solved between the universe and the planets. It can be regarded as defending the universe. It is called the Green Lantern Corps. Chapter 176 Establishing the Green Lantern Corps. The Marvel world is full of disasters. If no one manages it, there will only be more guys like Poseidon and Thanos in the future. Han Yu is living here now. He can't ignore these major incidents, and he can't help wherever they are invaded. He doesn't have that much energy. Instead of solving it himself, he might as well build a team that can solve it. The army of this sort of thing. If something happens, let the army go out and let him bask in the sun behind his back. If it was created by you, we in Asgard will definitely get involved. Sol said, with my strength, it shouldn't be a problem to be a military commander, right? Han Yu nodded with a smile. If it was Sol in the past, he might have to weigh it up, but now Sol already has this qualification. He is now relatively mature compared to before, and his combat effectiveness is extremely strong. It is no problem to join the Green Lantern Corps. Then me, I also want to go in. I don't want to be a deputy commander, I want to be a commander. Loki said. If you don't improve your strength first, you are obviously a mage, stabbing you with a knife every day, your mother taught you so much magic for nothing. Hela complained mercilessly. Loki smiled awkwardly, it feels good to use a knife, otherwise I can change it, and use magic is also possible. After hearing what Loki said, Han Yu smiled and said, of course. Han Yu is not randomly recruiting people now. If he wants to become a branch commander of the Green Lantern Corps, the first decision is the ability to control emotions, and the combat effectiveness can be considered second. As long as you join the Green Lantern Corps, your combat effectiveness will definitely be improved. But once you have strong strength, you must manage your own small thoughts well, otherwise, if you become addicted to this power, it will be very troublesome for Han Yu to deal with such people again. When such a thing happened in Asgard, Loki has always been by Sol's side to assist him. Although he always cheated him before, he also let many people see his other side when Asgard was alive and dead. One side. He was reluctant to admit it before, but now he dares to say, I am the son of Odin, the prince of Asgard. Loki, who can accept these things calmly, is also qualified to join the Green Lantern Corps. Han Yu smiled at Loki, you really should think about magic. And you are always using the magic talent of nearly full level to fight close combat, and you really deserve it. Loki smiled awkwardly again, and nodded to show that he knew. Here, take this. Han Yu raised his palm, and transformed into 2 green lantern rings in his palm, handed them to Sol and Loki, and said at the same time, this ring allows us to communicate with infinite distances in the universe, and you can use the energy in it as you like, directly connected to me, as long as I don't die, the energy inside will not disappear. So powerful! Loki carefully held the green lantern ring, and quickly put it on his hand. He had also seen Han Yu's ability to use this ring, and he had been eyeing it at that time, but Han Yu was too strong, so he didn't dare to make any wrong ideas. Han Yu said, okay, I should leave after the matter is settled. The subsequent war may affect the Earth. I have to go back to the Earth to deploy my combat power to avoid major problems. I also need to solve the system of our army. Battle armor, unify it, otherwise there will be more people in the future. Hela stepped forward to shake hands with Han Yu, and said, if you need anything, try to find us in Asgard, we owe you a big favor. Hanyu smiled, nodded without too much politeness, pulled Ganada, who was obsessed with mobile games, opened the portal back to the grocery store, and left. Another place in the universe. A huge interstellar warship with a distance of several thousand meters is anchored in the void of the universe. The giant cannon mounted on the warship is even more frightening. This cannonball seems to be able to blast a planet into pieces. On the battleship, Sea God was talking to a person sitting on the golden throne in front of him. This time is so dangerous, they don't know where to find a girl who is so strong that she just broke off my trident and ate it. There is also a person on Earth who actually took Asgard's storm axe and cut off my arm directly. A few ugly aliens were surrounding Poseidon, bandaging his wounds. A certain alien hurt him, and Poseidon took a breath and swung out his palm with great force. An alien vomited blood and died. Tisk, I don't even know how to bandage. Poseidon's face was a little ugly. This battle was going smoothly, but unexpectedly, a few people were killed halfway, and it was directly disturbed. One of them even cut off one of his arms. He had never fought such a defeat before, and now he was suffocated. Seeing his companion's death, the aliens who bandaged him trembled all over, and became more careful in their movements. It's you who underestimated the enemy. As I said, they sent a Loki away after they made a big move. It must have been premeditated. In the end, you didn't listen, so you can't blame others. A man walked down from the golden throne and said as he walked. This person is Thanos. Sea God curled his lips in disdain. When I return to Warner God's domain, I will lead an army to kill them. Next time, I will definitely destroy Asgard directly. Thanos smiled, and the laughter was a bit cold. You can't go back. What do you mean? Poseidon frowned, and looked at Thanos in front of him. From the latter's face, he saw a trace of malicious expression, and suddenly felt a little bad in his heart. Thanos raised his hand and opened a video. In the video, it was the tragedy of Warner God's domain, when you raised your troops to attack Asgard. I also led people to attack Warner God's domain. Seeing his city being destroyed like that, the expression on Sea God's face gradually froze. He opened his mouth wide and looked at Thanos. When he opened his mouth, his voice broke. Why are you doing this? Aren't we in the same camp? Thanos pulled out the double-edged sword stuck aside, brushed the blade lightly with his fingers, lowered his head slightly, and walked towards Sea God. No reason, I just think it's fun, it's really interesting to watch those guys survive. Sea God saw Thanos's movement and wanted to stand up, but suddenly a few buckles appeared on the chair, fixing his waist, hands, and legs firmly. No matter how hard he struggled, these buckles were firmly in place without any loosening. They seemed to be specially developed to trap powerful beings like him, and the materials were not ordinary metal. Bastard, let me go. Seeing Thanos getting closer and closer to him, Poseidon no longer had that aloof look on him. At this moment, he screamed in shock, but Thanos in front of him didn't stop at all, and instead showed a cruel look in his eyes. Thanos, who walked up to Sea God, showed a cruel smile, swung the big knife in his hand, and slashed at his neck. Poseidon's decapitated instantly. Chapter 177, The Dog Licking Thanos. Blood splashed on Thanos' face. He didn't feel any discomfort, and the cruel look on his face was even worse. He didn't care at all that he had just casually terminated a god who was about to become a heavenly father. Immediately afterwards, he raised his hand to face the blood-spraying broken neck. A faint blue light glowed on his hand, which actually absorbed all the blood of the sea god. But in the blink of an eye, Poseidon's appearance became as shriveled and dry as the people in Warner God's domain in the video. Thanos licked his lips, a little bit enjoying the death of the other party, and after a while, his cruel words sounded in this small world. My cosmic heart has strengthened a bit, and it seems that I can start to plunder infinite gems. Add these two things together, and no one in this universe can trap me. As he spoke, he looked towards a dark place, where a figure slowly solidified in the universe, turning into a figure. Seeing the appearance of this figure, the expression on Thanos' face suddenly became excited, and he said, Death, have you seen it? This is a gift I brought to you. This guy is a god of the Heavenly Father. Will you do you like it? The person who appeared was a woman, her whole body was covered by wisps of black mist, her beautiful figure was looming, and her appearance was so beautiful that no words could describe her appearance perfectly. This woman is the goddess of death, she is the 5 gods of creation, and she is also Thanos' unrequited love. Looking at the fallen body, the goddess of death's astonishingly beautiful face didn't fluctuate much, and she didn't even give Thanos a straight look. Her indifferent personality in the face of everything and never looking at Thanos gave the latter a great sense of refreshment, and Thanos felt even more excited. It was for the goddess of death that he fought in the universe. If he wanted to contribute the death of more living beings to her, he hoped that she would be with him. The goddess of death stooped to look at the place where Sea God was shaved off by the storm axe. Her face didn't fluctuate much. After she got up, she disappeared. From the beginning to the end, she didn't even say a word, and she didn't care about Thanos at all. On the contrary, Thanos was still excited, thinking that the other party was interested in him, otherwise how could he appear for no reason? Just wait, I will let more creatures die, and dedicate their deaths to you. If Han Yu knew about his cruel thoughts, the latter would only have 2 words for him. Lick the dog. Earth. Han Yu, who returned to the grocery store, was receiving the weird gazes from Ultron and Kuei Yin, especially Kuei Yin, who was tisk 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 there, and even came up and patted Han Yu's shoulder with a look of I understand. It's okay, Yu, I haven't seen you for a few days, and you brought back a good-looking younger sister. As soon as my sister left, you brought a new girl home. Our store manager is quite sloppy. Don't worry, I will definitely not tell Wanda yes. Quicksilver Thief said with a smile. Han Yu rolled his eyes, ignored him, and dragged Ganada upstairs to find her a room. After Ganada said it was okay, she said she wanted to take a bath, and Han Yu came out. As soon as the door of the room was opened, Ultron and Kuei Yin turned around immediately, whistling as if I hadn't done anything. Seeing Han Yu looking at them helplessly, Ao Chuang laughed a few times and said, Boss, I'm taking a bath, you, don't come together. I'll wash your head. Han Yu didn't even bother to explain, these 2 people had that piggy look on their faces, no matter what they said, they all believed that they had some deeper relationship with Ganada. As long as these 2 guys don't talk nonsense, Han Yu doesn't care about them. If Ganada gets beaten up by talking nonsense, Han Yu will watch happily. I understand. Wanda is currently studying at the Supreme Sanctuary, and she probably won't be able to come back for a long time. Men, there are inevitably needs. Kuei Yin winked at Han Yu and said, I just didn't expect the boss to find me. The quality of the girls is so high, where can I find them, and introduce one to me? Where did you get the face, Crawl? Ultron said. Han Yu didn't want to continue this topic, so he asked, did anything happen during the time I was away? Speaking of this, the expressions of Ultron and Ultron became more dignified. Ultron said, the reputation of the Avengers has not been very good during this time. Han Yu looked over and motioned for him to continue. Ultron said, there have been a few commotions recently, and the person who caused the commotion was Dr. Banner in the Avengers. No, it should be Hulk. Han Yu frowned, what's going on? Ao Chuang brought Han Yu to the game room, turned on a computer, and called up a news, which read, the Hulk is out of control? The crazy smashing is unstoppable, and it has not been controlled yet. Below the article is a video. In the video, a super big, muscular man covered in green is jumping up and down, smashing whatever he sees. The bus parked by the side of the road is picked up by him like a toy, and the car next to him is smashed into a discus. Several tanks approached, and the forearm-wide cannon fired at Hulk more than a dozen times, creating a thick cloud of smoke and dust. Before they could confirm the opponent's vital signs, a green figure shot out of it. He rushed straight to a tank closest to him, put his hands on the barrel, and pulled hard. And the barrel of this tank was pulled out of Hulk's hands. Han Yu basically frowned while watching the video. Dr. Banner usually controls his temper very well. Even if there are some irritating things, he can still control his emotions well, and it is impossible to let Hulk out easily. One incident can be said to be an accident, but when several incidents happen at once, things are very strange. Have you confirmed anyone? This is Banner himself. Han Yu asked. Kuei Yin nodded and said, I've confirmed it, it's him. What about the public, what's the reaction? Han Yu asked. The current situation is not good for the Avengers, especially the Hulk. After the first smashing incident, there were small-scale demonstrations. After the number of smashing incidents increased, the scale of the activities it has become bigger, and now there are thousands of people. Ultron said. A demonstration of thousands of people is a very large number. It has not just reached the beginning of the 1,000, but has already started in the thousands, enough to fill an entire street. Ultron tapped on the computer keyboard, and said, "Some people have long been dissatisfied with the Avengers. After this incident, they even took advantage of the opportunity to create a You Hate the Most on the internet. Superheroes leaderboard." Han Yu looked at the computer. It was a very simple vertical column chart list, everyone in the Avengers was on it, the title on the top said the superhero you hate the most, and the number of votes was on the bottom. Taking a rough look, Han Yu was surprised to find that Hulk had a terrible number of votes. Chapter 178 The Mad Hulk. The second place is Thor from an alien planet. As an alien comer, some people are afraid of him, and he can summon thunder and lightning. It is not unusual to be ranked second, with more than 40,000 votes. And the first place is the protagonist of this incident, Hulk, with as many as 130,000 votes, directly throwing away the second place soul. The votes are ridiculously high. Han Yu murmured. Ultron nodded. Although not all of Hulk's votes were voted by real people, the proportion of real people's votes is still the largest compared with other people. Han Yu nodded silently. The top priority now is not to find out who initiated it. It must be someone who has a grudge against the Avengers. It is useless to arrest them. Because the Hulk did come out and smashed, causing a lot of panic, if this hadn't happened, the hate vote would be just something to watch and play on the internet. Now that the vote of hate is out, the military must have seen this, and they may take advantage of the trend to arrest Hulk, and then start brutal and inhumane biological research. This kind of plot is not uncommon for Han Yu. If the military catches something that is a threat, it will not directly destroy it. Instead, it will carry out biological research, so as to give the opponent a chance to come back. Han Yu was sick of seeing such a tattered plot, and he said to Ultron, "Can we find him now?" Ultron shook his head. The X system can't find it either, because it was originally made for mutants, and ordinary people can also search for it, but this crazy Hulk is very smart and knows how to avoid the camera, relying on the city camera alone, and the satellites couldn't find him at all. Han Yu rubbed his chin and pondered. It's not that he doesn't have more sophisticated monitoring equipment. But this thing is too spying. When it is brought out to this world, he can see clearly what other people are doing in the house. "I have a way, you wait for me here for a while, I'll go out for a while." Han Yu said and walked out, ignoring Ao Chuang and the other two. He rummaged through the inventory in the grocery store system while walking, looking for something. When he came to the old place, in the alley behind the grocery store, Han Yu flew high, and the changing characteristics of the green light energy on his body played the role of invisibility, allowing him to blend with the surrounding scenery. Yes. Soon, his gaze rested on a column, which was a cylinder in the shape of a king in a red chess piece, with a faint red light shining above its head. This is called a control guard, and the effect is that it can monitor everything within a certain distance. Even if the other party is hiding in a high-rise building, Han Yu can see the other party's location as long as he is within the range of the control guard. "System, I want to take some control guards," Han Yu said. "A control guard needs 20 upgrade points, please pay," the grocery store system said lightly. Han Yu was dumbfounded, and he said in disbelief, "I'm already the store manager, can't I take this thing?" The grocery store system replied indifferently, "The free access authority for this item is Intermediate Store Manager, the current level of the host does not match, please upgrade." "I am promoted to Nima, you are trying to cheat my upgrade points." Han Yu rolled his eyes. He had never seen such a flawed system. It was fine if he didn't issue tasks to himself, but he kept trying to squeeze his own upgrade points. What good would it do to squeeze himself dry? As soon as he finished speaking, the grocery store system in his head sounded a very locomotive notification sound that he hadn't heard for a long time. Immediate task release, solve the commotion caused by the Hulk, reward upgrade points, 300 points. Hearing the voice in his head, Han Yu felt better. After snorting, he said to the system, "You have a conscience, exchange it for 5 control guards for me." The control guard is being exchanged. Control guard *5 has been obtained, and the upgrade point is 100 points, said the grocery store system. Han Yu spread his hand, and twirled his 3 fingers in the air, and 5 control guards shining red light hovered slowly above his palm. It was also the first time he saw this kind of thing in the real world, and he couldn't help picking it up and playing with it. It wasn't until Ao Chuang called and asked him what he was doing that Han Yu came back to his senses. With a flick of the palm of Han Yu's hand, he threw out all the 5 control guards. Only mid-level store managers can take things casually. The effect is definitely not ordinary. A single control guard is enough to monitor the whole city of New York. To ensure safety, Han Yu monitored many surrounding areas. Once the monitoring range of the control guard is opened, its body becomes invisible, and it is impossible to find it with conventional detection methods. And since he couldn't reach it, Han Yu didn't have to worry about being knocked down by a helicopter or something. He flew back to the grocery store and returned to the game room. The grocery store system had automatically sent everything he saw in the control guard to the computer in their game room. Wow, boss, what have you done? The whole of New York is now on our computer, and we can watch it anywhere. It's amazing. Kuei Yin said excitedly. Han Yu knocked him on the head hard, and said seriously, we are doing business. If I find out that you do something wretched with this thing, you will have to suffer. Seeing his serious look, the thoughts in Kuei Yin's mind disappeared instantly. He smiled awkwardly, and said, I definitely wouldn't do that kind of thing. Who am I, Pietro, would use this kind of thing to kill? Are you doing something so obscene? As long as you know. After a few reminders, Han Yu turned to Ultron and asked, how's it going, did you find it? Found it, in the east direction, here are the coordinates. Ao Chuang said in surprise. He was stunned. This thing is too easy to use, it is a 360-degree monitoring with no dead ends. Han Yu stepped forward to check the coordinates, and it was not far away. I'll just go by myself. You guys are here to help me see if there is an ambush around the place where the accident happened. If there is anything, just use the green light ring to notify me. After Han Yu finished speaking, he flew towards his destination. Chapter 179 Gay men are by my side. Because of the commotion caused by Hulk, there are checkpoints everywhere now, and defenses are formed between various points, just to wait for Hulk to appear and then use the fastest speed to support. Han Yu came to the coordinate point that Ao Chuang told him early. This is a very ordinary street with pedestrians coming and going, and there is nothing wrong with it. From time to time, several military vehicles drove by, and the soldiers who got off looked around, and seeing that there was nothing unusual, they got on the vehicles and left. Han Yu came to the coordinates he had learned earlier. It was a small alley. He walked in it and didn't notice anything wrong. The alley was quiet, with a shivering cold wind blowing from time to time. Ultra, I didn't see Hulk, what's going on? Han Yu asked Ultron through the green light ring. How is it possible? What was displayed just now is clearly. Ultron checked the computer and found that the previously tracked signal disappeared, and he couldn't find Hulk's location at once. Boss, he ran away, and now the system can't find it. Han Yu frowned. What's going on? Who is running? Banner. It's impossible, he is an honest man, usually speaks in a soft voice, and he seems to be out of breath after running 1,000 meters, how could he run? Could it be Hulk? That shouldn't even be the case. Hulk's IQ is an angry 10-year-old kid, maybe even less than 10 years old, this big guy who only knows how to shout angrily and beat around, how could he know how to change his destination so frequently? Satellites can't find him? Ao Chuang, is there any news from the Avengers? Han Yu continued to ask. It is impossible for Hulk to be silent in such a central city with his size. There was some regret in Ao Chuang's voice, and he said, no, I have hacked their energy instrument that specializes in searching for gamma rays. I haven't detected any abnormalities in gamma rays recently. I don't know how the Hulk did it. You can get away with this. This method of invading other people's satellites casually made Han Yu a little dumbfounded, and he could really do whatever he wanted with a high technology. Although Ultron already has a human body, his consciousness is still connected to the previous metal body, and he can still use his consciousness to connect to the online world. After hearing Ultron's words, Han Yu felt even worse. The so-called gamma rays are the origin of the Hulk. Dr. Banner was exposed to a large amount of gamma ray radiation, which caused him to have a genetic mutation, turning into a monster that can turn into a huge green monster when angry. And the power of gamma rays will not be weaker than that of atomic bombs and nuclear bombs. Even a little bit of the radiation after the explosion of nuclear weapons can cause various diseases, which can easily endanger life, not to mention that Banner has directly suffered a lot. It is a miracle that people with gamma rays can live. Han Yu felt unhappy, spat secretly, and said in his heart, damn it, the changes in this timeline are getting bigger and bigger. When he stepped on the sole of his foot, the powerful explosive force generated by the sole of his foot made him fly off the ground, and stood directly on top of a building about 10 meters away. Han Yu stood on the wall of the roof, raised his palm, and the energy of the green light was solidified into a high-powered telescope in his hand for him to observe his surroundings. As night fell, the city lit up with different lights. Suddenly, Han Yu's sweeping eyes stopped at a bar 200 meters away. This bar is not big, just the kind of medium-sized bar where a few friends can get together. From time to time, I saw a few people coming out from the inside. Looking at their faces, they were obviously not good people. Through the binoculars, Han Yu could clearly see that they had pistols pinned to their backs, and their shapes were almost as good as showing them to others. Han Yu originally just glanced over it, but he moved the telescope back to the bar as soon as he moved half a meter away. He saw a thin man hurried in from the side alley, a peaked cap was pressed extremely low on his head, making his face hard to see. Han Yu, who has a little research on the Avengers, is no stranger to this figure, and recognized the identity of this man. It is Banner. Good guy, I finally found you. Han stepped forward, jumped at a height of more than 10 meters, landed firmly on the ground, and ran quickly towards the bar. Pushing open the door, Han Yu smelled a strong smell of smoke, and the eyes of countless big men moved to him instantly. Han Yu didn't feel anything, and walked straight inside, and he ignored many eyes that seemed to find fault. His appearance belongs to the outstanding little fresh meat level in this bar. The people here are all rough guys, who seem to be mercenaries or other professions. Hey, kid, are you lost? This is not where you should be. A big man's voice sounded, and the person who spoke was Han Yu. Han Yu ignored it and was still looking for Banner's figure. Seeing that Han Yu didn't answer him, the big man who spoke immediately slapped the table, and several people around him also stood up and walked towards Han Yu. Seeing this, some gloating whistles sounded in the store, and everyone's eyes were on Han Yu, which meant watching Han Yu being beaten to eat. However, with the eccentricity of these big guys, there may be more exciting scenes. The guy who is the leader of these big guys is the one who made fun of Han Yu earlier. In this bar, he is famous for destroying flowers with his hands. But the flowers here are all men. Han Yu frowned impatiently. He was just looking for someone, so someone must be too idle to find fault. Those big men walked up to Han Yu, and the man in the lead looked at Han Yu like a hungry wolf seeing a sheep. I'm so lucky today, I've picked it up, little brother, follow me obediently, you can save a little pain. The gay man said. As soon as he finished speaking, the figure of Han Yu in front of him surged up and kicked the big gay man mercilessly. No one expected that this little boy who looked only 140 jin could explode with such force, kicking this strong man who weighed over 200 jin away abruptly, smashing many people along the way. Tables and chairs. The companions around the big man were very surprised when they saw that he was kicked and flew away. Just as he was about to draw his gun and shoot, two gleaming daggers appeared in Han Yu's hands at some point, and he threw them towards the two of them. One person, one knife, directly pierced the wrists of the two of them, and they couldn't help screaming due to the huge pain. There was a loud noise in the bar just now, and it was quiet for a moment. Everyone stared blankly at Han Yu, their eyes moving back and forth between him and those big men. His decisive killing not only frightened them, but what was even more surprising was his strength and accuracy. Chapter 180 Isolation. Several of the people present can throw knives, but the knives of the flying knives must be light. The daggers they use are all special daggers for assassination operations. It is absolutely inappropriate to use them as throwing knives. But for such a thing, Han Yu not only threw it out, but also stabbed it into the wrists of the two men with precision. No serious mercenary could do such a thing. From their point of view, this is also unbelievable. Han Yu walked forward blankly, ignoring the painful expressions on their faces, directly pulled out the daggers stuck in their wrists, wiped the blood with their clothes, and then swung them back. Thanks, your dagger is very useful. Two daggers pierced the table next to where he was standing before. These two daggers were passed by Han Yu from them. The dagger was still in their hands, and when the two recovered their senses, they realized that their dagger had been stolen. Ah, it's okay, as long as you are happy. How could these two dare to say no? Looking at the big gay guy from before, he weighed more than 200 kilograms and would have been kicked away, and it seemed that Han Yu definitely hadn't tried his best. Such a person is placed in this bar, that is also a super ruthless existence, who dares to stop, it will be fine if the other party does not come to trouble them. It's over, Gino, go and deal with these guys. At this time, a man came towards Han Yu. The man was about 30 years old. He was wearing a black suit. His figure was not strong, but it made the suit look very slim, which suited him very well. He wore a pair of gold-rimmed glasses. He is very gentle and refined, but how can it be possible that all the people who appear in this kind of bar are all good people? Han Yu sized him up, and the other side sized him up, but after a while, the man said, "Hello, my name is Hank, and I'm the boss here. You seem unfamiliar, sir. Is this your first time here?" "Well, my surname is Han, and I'm here to find someone." Han Yu nodded without being overly polite. Hank didn't feel any discomfort because of the other party's temper, and he still had a smiling expression on his face, which made Han Yu couldn't help but praise him in his heart. "This man looks very powerful. Look for someone, I might be able to help you," Hank said. "I'm looking for Banner, do you know him?" Hearing that the other party said this name, Hank showed obvious surprise on his face, looking very surprised that Han Yu would come here to look for him. He looked at Han Yu again, but this time he looked at Han Yu with some scrutiny, as if he was wondering if he had any other identities. "Don't worry, I'm not a policeman." Han Yu saw what the other party was thinking and said. Hank was convinced of this, because Han Yu had an Asian face, and the police here didn't accept Asians very much, unless they were engaged in some big operation and used Asians as a cover. But looking at Han Yu's shot just now, if it was really the action of the police, his utterance just now is equivalent to making everyone's attention focus on him. This is very bad for the police who are going to do something. This also further dispelled Hank's suspicion of him. "Come with me." Hank hooked him, stepped out first, and walked towards the bar. Han Yu didn't think too much. With his strength, no one on earth could beat him. To put it bluntly, he is like the boxer Tyson in his heyday now. The people on the earth are a bunch of babies, and it is impossible for anyone to withstand Han Yu's punch. Han Yu followed Hank to a door deep in the bar, where two strong men stood. There is actually a secret door here. It seems that this bar is not as dilapidated as it looks. Han Yu said in his heart. He saw Banner coming into this bar, followed him in but saw no one, so he knew there must be some kind of cubicle hidden inside. But seeing bodyguards guarding the door, Han Yu felt that this bar was unusual, and that it was no longer at the level of an ordinary cubicle. The two bodyguards saw that Han Yu didn't say anything, and when they saw Hank, who was the leader, they called him respectfully and opened the door for him. Hank turned his head and smiled at Han Yu, and walked in first. After Han Yu entered, he couldn't help but be a little surprised. The space inside is surprisingly large, and naked strippers can be seen everywhere. In some booths that are half hidden by curtains, with the help of the light outside, one can vaguely see undulating figures inside. "It's amazing that there is such a bar," Han Yu murmured. "Grey industries have always existed, as long as there is light, there must be darkness. Where is the person you are looking for?" Hank pointed somewhere. Han Yu followed the point he was pointing at, and saw a thin man nestled in a small booth in a certain corner, very conspicuous, and this man was Banner. But he was conspicuous not because of the fancy clothes he was wearing, but because there was nothing around him. There are several men and women having fun in each booth, but there is no one in Banner's place. Even the adjacent booths are empty. Those booths look good, and they don't look like they are being repaired. Even the lady who delivered the wine walked around there. From these aspects, Han Yu judged the result, not because Banner was unpopular, but because others were afraid of him. Presumably there must have been trouble here. Although the bar made a move, it was ruthlessly resolved by Banner. The reason why he was allowed in, Han Yu guessed, was that on the one hand, the other party feared his strength and did not dare to provoke him. "I had to smash my teeth and swallow it." Very aggrieved, but also very helpless, there is no way, whoever makes the other party unreasonably strong, anyone who has an opinion can speak up. Anyway, people in the bar are afraid to go. What did he do? Why did everyone isolate him? Han Yu wanted to know what happened, so he asked Hank. Hank's eyes were a little complicated. He glanced at Banner and didn't dare to linger too much. What he said seemed to be a little terrified. This happened half a month ago. When he came in here at that time, a group of people came to trouble him because they saw that he was thin. The two sides fought fiercely. Banner directly tore 4 of them with his hands, and tore them apart abruptly. Killed 4 people. Hearing this, Han Yu was also a little surprised, and hurriedly asked, "Is it because of his current physique?" "Yeah, what's the matter?" Hank didn't understand why Han Yu asked this. Hearing this, Han Yu's eyes were filled with disbelief. Banner actually tore 4 strong men with his normal physique. End of the chapter. Like and subscribe for more videos like this.